Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto has blue Sharingan. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments. A 9-year-old blonde child with whisker marks on his face was sitting in his cell. Bored. Walls, 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 and guess what? More walls. Yay! He thought sarcastically but was replaced with excitement as he thought of earlier when he played tag with a new friend, Jugo. Flashback. Naruto was thrown in an arena with another orange-haired kid. Hey, what's the big idea? I already fought someone yesterday. My next fight was supposed to be tomorrow, he shouted. He was having a nice dream. It included lots of running and more importantly no walls. Naruto snapped out of his daydream when he remembered the orange-haired boy in front of him. Wait, orange? This can't be too bad. Anyone who has orange was alright in his books. Hey there, my name is Naruto, he greeted. What's your name? He asked but all he got was silence. They call me Jugo, the orange-haired boy answered, and they said that they would let me go if I kill you. He suddenly turned into something else. He grew spikes of what seemed to be metal from his arm which grew at least 3 times its previous size. He charged forward as Naruto's eyes widened making the blonde child jump back. He landed on the wall and used his chakra to stick to the wall. Good thing he mastered it a month ago. Naruto started running around on the walls while Jugo was spinning in circles. Stop running, he screamed as he charged looking to squash Naruto. Naruto, seeing the impending danger, moved a bit up the wall as Jugo punched the jump down and used Jugo as a springboard to jump on the opposite wall. Tag, you're it. He stuck his tongue out childishly. This continued for the next half an hour until Jugo got tired and reverted to his previous state and fell unconscious. Flashback end. Yep, today was fun, he smiled. Unfortunately Orochimaru had decided that it was time to move him and now he got another cell. I liked my old cell too, he pouted. Suddenly red light started flashing and his cell's door opened. Code red. Code red. Jugo has escaped. Naruto's eyes widened as some ninja ran in a direction he presumed to be Jugo's cell. Looks like he's up for another round, Naruto grinned. Too bad I got to go. Maybe next time, Jugo, he thought as he slipped out of his cell door and made his way around the hideout. Just as he was about to turn another corner, he heard voices. Damn, he escaped. Orochimaru is going to kill us now, a voice said. Or worse, use us as one of his test subjects. Better get going. Naruto cursed. Damn, now I got to hurry up and get as far as I can. So he did. But as a 9-year-old kid, one with tons of energy, but still a 9-year-old kid nonetheless, he couldn't go very far. After about 1 hour of full-on sprinting, he came across a clearing and a river. Just as he was about to take another step towards the river, his vision suddenly blurred and he fell forward. The last thing he remembered seeing was a girl with long black hair and brown eyes. She's pretty, he thought as he finally lost conscious. Kyuubi. Naruto woke up in a sewer that was filled with eerie green light. Damn. Running for that long was tiring, even for me, he muttered to himself. And I really have to ask the fox if I can change this. It's not fun waking up in a sewer. With that in mind, he started walking through all the bends and twists of pipes until he reached a large room that had a giant cage with kanji of seal written on a piece of paper, right on middle where the cage would open, and seemingly it was the only thing that was keeping the cage locked. Suddenly in the darkness of the cage, an eye opened with an red iris. Hello Naruto, greeted the thing inside of the cage. Hello, Kyuubi, Naruto smiled as he sat down. It's been a month since he had met Kyuubi. Flashback. Naruto sat panting on his cell floor. Damn it. Work with me chakra. Today, instead of fighting more people, a young man wearing purple clothes and a pair of glasses came in and took him outside. He pointed at a tree and told Naruto to climb it without hands. He then demonstrated how one would achieve it with chakra control. Naruto spent the rest of the day trying to climb the tree under the boy, Kabuto's watch. When it was time to go back in his cell, he had just managed to start climbing a step and grasped the idea. That was around 3 hours ago. He was now practicing the tree climbing exercise on his cell wall. Eventually he just grew too tired and collapsed. And just as Naruto fell asleep, he was rudely woken up in time for his next fight. Naruto slowly walked towards the arena, already dead on his feet. His opponent was a giant guy with huge bulging muscles wielding a club. "Aw great, couldn't it be a lazy guy who liked to play shogi?" He internally moaned. Somewhere in the hidden leaf located in the land of fire, a young child with a pineapple haircut was staring at the clouds when he suddenly sneezed. Troublesome, he thought as he went back to watching the clouds. Back with Naruto. He was broken out of his thoughts when a giant club came smashing down and he dodged just in time not to be turned into a pancake in the first strike. Whoa! He shouted when he saw the miniature crater the strike had created. While he was staring at the crater, he never saw the foot that came crashing into his head, causing him to black out in midair. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto woke up in a sewer with an eerie green lighting. His first thought? Damn, that's creepy. I feel like there is a creature behind me. Just to be sure, he turned around to check. Nope, no creatures, he sighed happily. He turned back around and stared at the pipes. They all seemed to be forming some sort of a hallway. I wonder where this all leads, he thought as he started walking forward. After what seemed like he walked forever, the pipes suddenly split, leaving him in a wide room with a giant golden cage ahead of him. On the cage was a piece of paper with the kanji of seal on it. He stared in the darkness of the cage but fell backwards when a giant red eye stared back at him, startling him. Who dares disturb the rest of the Kyuubi? It roared. Naruto was hit with a wave of killing intent that froze him, rendering him unable to speak. Well, child, I'm waiting, he prompted. My name is Naruto, Naruto stuttered. Well, Naruto, I haven't eaten in many years. What would you do if I told you that you are my next meal? The fox smiled, showing all his pearly white teeth. At this, Naruto looked depressed. Well then, I guess that's it for me. He smiled. It was fun while it lasted. The fox stared at him. You interest me, child. I shall let you live, for now. Not that I could kill you anyways. Damn you, Yondaime Hokage. At this, some undefined red liquid came creeping out of the cage. I will lend you some of my chakra. You will feel but a drop of my full power. At this, the now identified liquid chakra started wrapping around Naruto. Real world. Less than a minute had passed since the club-wielding fighter had kicked Naruto across the room. Naruto lay on the floor, motionless. Then, as if he was just pretending, he rose from the ground. But there were some noticeable differences. He now had red eyes with a slit in them. His whisker marks on his cheeks were now darker and more defined. And last of all, his nails were now longer and more resembling claws. In a flash, he sped across the room and started hitting the giant guy with a vicious barrage that ended with a drop kick that finally led the giant man to fall. Naruto's new features receded back and his usual features returned. He was then hit with a wave of tiredness, like he had just been running the whole day and just stopped. I'm just gonna crash here, he muttered as he fell asleep. Flashback end. After chatting with the fox for a while, Naruto finally felt a pull at the back of his head. Time to go, brat, the Kyuubi pointed out. See you late. Whenever I see you again. Naruto's sweat dropped when he realized that he still didn't know how to go into his mindscape anytime he wanted. The last thing he saw before he faded away was the amused smirk of the great-tailed beast. Outside. I swear you're too kind, Haku, came a male voice. Naruto groaned and opened his eyes a little. It's too early, keep it down, he groaned out. When he finally took notice of who was in the room, he saw a slightly muscular man with pale skin in his early to mid-20s. He had short, spiky brown hair and baggy pants. He wore bandages like a mask and had a giant sword strapped to his back. He started panicking and started looking for an escape. Just my luck. I'm in a room with the demon of the hidden mist and a mist. Anbu? Shouldn't the Anbu be trying to capture him and not sit there being scolded by him? Noticing his confused look, the demon of the mist Zabuza Momochi looked at the Anbu. Take the mask off, Haku, he ordered, to which the Anbu, now named Haku, complied. As he took it off, it was revealed to be the girl who was on the clearing he passed out in. You're pretty, Naruto blurted out suddenly. His eyes widened as his hands went to cover his mouth. Haku grew a tick mark. I am a male, he shouted as Zabuza roared with laughter and Naruto paled. Said Uzumaki started hyperventilating. I'm not gay, I'm not gay. He repeated over and over, causing Zabuza to laugh even harder, and even Haku smiled at that. After Zabuza's laughter died down, he grew serious again. So what brings you to this town? From what Haku told me, you were exhausted and dropped when you arrived, he said, ignoring Haku's angry mutter of, and squashing the poor flowers I was going to pick. Naruto looked at Zabuza. I was escaping from one of Orochimaru's bases. Haku's eyes widened. Orochimaru, as in the snake Sanin Orochimaru? He asked. Naruto nodded. Yep, pale skin, creepy look, that's the one. Zabuza snorted. Yeah right kid. Every rogue ninja worth his bounty knows that anyone that isn't Orochimaru or one of his ninja, enter but don't leave any of his bases. It's one of the dark secrets one gets from listening at bars. It said that all 5 of the great villages had tried to infiltrate it numerous times, none of which was successful. Now tell me, he grabbed his blade and lowered it at Naruto. Why are you here? He asked as he let out a tinge of killing intent. However, being exposed to it so often in his life, Naruto barely noticed it as he glared at Zabuza. I am not lying, he growled. One of his experiments went crazy and caused enough commotion for me to escape. Naruto conveniently chose not to mention that it was partly his fault that Jugo went nuts. Zabuza stared at the kid. Inwardly he was impressed, but outwardly he showed indifference. Kid's got guts, he admitted. Even so, what were you doing there in the first place? How'd I know you didn't just hear that from a passing villager? He asked. Whatever excuse he expected the blonde kid to make up, he wasn't expecting the one Naruto told him. I know because, I was one of the experiments. This shocked both Zabuza and Haku. This kid, even younger than Haku, was an experiment of Orochimaru. Unbelievable. But there was something in the way he said it, the way that neither of them could detect even a single trace of a lie. That was what finally convinced them that he was telling the truth. After a moment of staring, Zabuza finally relented and dropped his sword. Fine, I believe you. Not many have the fire you have. Especially not after what Orochimaru is said to have put them through. Naruto sighed. Also, Zabuza continued. I have decided to train you, he said. This time, both Naruto and Haku's eyes widened. What? They shouted at the same time. Zabuza smiled behind his bandages. You are a diamond in the rough, kid. Not many have the potential you have. And just like that, Naruto was to be trained by the demon of the mist himself. Haku suddenly had an evil grin. Time for payback, he thought. Naruto, he called in a sickly sweet voice. Since you are also training under Zabuza, you must call me the great and manly Haku-senpai, he announced. He's really enjoying this, Zabuza thought with a sweat drop. Naruto gave him a deadpan look. Okay, great. And Haku's smile widened. Beautifully womanly Haku-senpai. And just like that, Haku's smile turned from one of triumph into one that promised torture. Zabuza couldn't hold it back anymore as he let out another round of laughter when he saw Haku starting to chase Naruto and throwing ice senbon, which Naruto showed an incredible agility in dodging despite Haku's accuracy and speed. Things are bound to get a lot more interesting with that kid around, he thought. Having had enough of time being wasted, Zabuza asked Naruto and Haku to spar. Just to get an idea of what Naruto can do. Enough. If you want to run around chasing each other, then do it as a spar, not some 5-year-olds playing tag. Haku had an evil grin as he put on his mask. Yes, Zabuza, he said as he started attacking the unprepared ninja. Hey, don't I get some weapons or something? He complained as he dodged the punches of Haku. 2 minutes later. Not bad, you sure are fit enough. Haku's voice sounded much deeper from behind the mask as he kept attacking Naruto in hand-to-hand combat. He was right, Naruto had little trouble keeping up with Haku's impressive speed, but the overall technique was where Naruto was lacking. Haku methodically kept bombarding Naruto with strikes, without giving much of an opening for his opponent, who could only rely on his purely physical attributes and raw talent. That wasn't enough, though, and soon Naruto was sent rolling after a powerful kick from the masked shinobi. Damn it, Naruto growled, picking himself up, but Haku was not about to relent. Ninja art. 1,000 needles of death. Haku jumped into the air, and before Naruto could even blink he saw what seemed like a whole cloud of needles going straight for him. Water style. Water wall. Naruto acted more on reflex, using the only actual ninja technique he knew for now, but it worked. A wall of highly pressurized water appeared in front of him and did a fine job shielding the blonde. The needles simply didn't have enough of a punch to pierce the otherwise relatively weak defensive jutsu. Hey, that almost hit me. Naruto pointed accusingly at Haku, who landed some distance away and tilted his head, somewhat impressed by the way his opponent defended himself. though the moment Naruto released the jutsu he got showered in water and now stood there. Water streaming off of him and onto the ground where it was forming a giant puddle of water from the water wall and melted senbon needles. Almost doesn't count. Haku shrugged. That mask suits you, you know. It reflects the sadist you actually are. Please, it doesn't please me to hurt you, though it is amusing at times. Haku smirked, taking off his mask, signaling that their spar was over. Ha, you admitted it. You are a sadist with a feminine face. My face is not feminine. So, you are not going to argue about being a sadist, right? Maybe you need a bit more training. The twitch that formed on Haku's forehead was suddenly hidden by the blank Anbu mask. Ladies, enough, called an amused Zabuza. Naruto, you use more instinct and brute than finesse. Though I admit that I also use a lot of brute, I also use some finesse. I will help you to rely on more than your gut instincts. Haku, your ice needles could use a little more work. You work on their speed and strength. I will have you spar again in 2 weeks' time. I expect a great increase in both of you. Naruto, I will be teaching you an offensive water jutsu to help complement your defensive one. Yes, Zabuza, they called together. I'll never say it out loud to the kid, but he's got a strong water wall there. If he masters it, it might even be strong enough to block a full swing of Executioner Blade. He must have an extremely high affinity to water. Possible even higher than my old teammate Kisame or the Leaf's second Hokage, Zabuza thought as he walked away. 2 weeks later. It's been 2 weeks, and true to his word, Zabuza had Naruto and Haku spar again. Are you just going to keep dodging? Haku broke off the attack, allowing Naruto to move back, creating some distance. His defense was pretty solid at this point. Haku could not penetrate it without resorting to some more exotic means. But Naruto was mostly just defending, either dodging the attacks, or when there was no other option, using a substitution or the water wall. I'll attack when the time is right, not when you want me to. The blonde replied while catching his breath. His stamina was beyond impressive, but hardly limitless, though it will grow as he ages. That is actually pretty smart. But you do know that those who are only defending are bound to be defeated. Yeah, offense is a perfect defense. Zabuza says that often. So, how about we keep going? Oh great. Naruto rolled to the side, avoiding a barrage of needles that Haku sent at him without any warning. Naruto often wondered where the masked ninja was carrying his seemingly never-ending supply of those things. But he had no way of keeping that thought as he was once again running, dodging or using the environment to his advantage. But as before, he eventually had to resort to ninjutsu. Water style. Water wall. As before, the barrier of water materialized, blocking the numerous senbon needles, but it also made it hard to see what was in front of him. Suddenly a foot came breaking through the relatively weak and hastily put up barrier, striking Naruto in the chest and throwing him back, forcing the jutsu to collapse in a harmless puddle of water under Haku's feet. Told you. Even from behind the mask the mocking tone was evident. Haku took a step forward, but then saw Naruto look up with a smirk. So did I water style. Glimmering water chains. Huh? Haku looked down and realized he made a mistake. The water from the collapsed water wall was now used as a weapon and Haku walked right into it. Chains of water shot up, wrapping around the masked ninja and pulling him down to the ground. See, timing is important. Zabuza says that too. Naruto's fist stopped inches away from Haku's face hidden by the mask. The result of this spar was painfully clear. Tisk, fine, I'll admit, you got me this time. Haku sighed, feeling the water chains disappearing, allowing him to stand up. Good work, both of you, came the deep voice of Zabuza. Haku, your ice needles have gotten harder and stronger, he said, looking at the needles stuck in some trees, buried about 3/4 through on the tough bark. Naruto, that last move was well executed. You managed to lure Haku into the water wall and used the remains to execute the next technique flawlessly, he said in a proud. The boys beamed at the praise. I am going to give you another jutsu, though this one can be used both offensively and as support, he said as he went through some hand signs. Water style. Water clone jutsu. Out of the remains of Naruto's water wall, several clones of Zabuza appeared. Naruto watched in fascination as the water suddenly gained shape and color. Water clones, they contain about 1/10 of their creator's strength and they can only travel a short distance away from the creator. They only take one hit to dispel but don't take a lot of chakra to form. Once dispelled, they will leave a puddle of water, which they can be recreated or used for another technique. He hinted. Naruto's eyes widened. Cool. So if I make a lot of water clones, I can have an army, and when they dispel, I can make my water chains out of them. Zabuza was impressed. The kid was smarter than he had originally thought. Yes, and many more, but for now, first learn it. Naruto's sweat dropped, having forgotten he had to learn the technique first. Right. He rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Haku's sweat dropped. I swear I have no idea what goes on in that thick skull of his. Zabuza went through the hand signs slowly while Naruto copied him. Water style. Water clone jutsu, they shouted at the same time. Suddenly the clearing they were in was filled with 10 more Zabuzas and 200 more Narutos. Haku and Zabuza just stared at Naruto. Incredible. He just made at least 100 clones and he doesn't even look winded. Naruto let the technique drop. Wow, you're right. I didn't even feel a drain on my chakra. What? They shouted, even I would have trouble making that many. When I said they don't take a lot of chakra, I did not mean they wouldn't. Continued Zabuza. How much did you use? An extremely small amount? Naruto answered uncertainly. Zabuza sighed. You clearly have a problem with chakra control. The water wall and water chains don't require much chakra control, but the water clone is different. The more chakra you put in, the more clones you get out. He explained. Do you know the tree climbing exercise? Zabuza asked. Yes, I mastered it a month ago, Naruto answered. Water walking? No, just tree climbing. Zabuza sighed. Haku, show the kid the water walking exercise. I'm going to send a message to call in a favor, then get a drink, he said as he walked away. Did I do something wrong? Naruto asked fearfully. Haku just sighed. Come on, let's get you started. There is plenty water here, he said as he looked around. 1 week later, Naruto had finally gotten water walking down. Having finally stopped falling in the cold water, he was ecstatic. Yes, he shouted, jumping on the water. Unfortunately, he had not reached the level of control to jump and move normally on water yet. Thus he was met with the cold water once again. On the sidelines, sitting on a tree, Haku smiled, looking at Naruto from the corner of his eye. Maybe you should practice a little more before you start jumping like that, Naruto, he suggested before going back to inspecting the ice needle he had created. Shut up, Haku, Naruto retorted as he climbed back on the shore, grumbling about stupid water and how he was going to beat it to death. Sometimes Haku really wondered about the sanity of the blonde. Finally back to where he was originally, in the middle of the lake. Naruto cheered, careful not to jump and fall again. He started walking a little faster before he fell again. Again he swam back to shore and repeated his steps. However, this time, Naruto was interrupted by Zabuza's untimely appearance and got distracted, causing him to fall in, again. Swimming back, he glared at Zabuza, who looked back in amusement. You're a couple years too young to intimidate me with that pitiful excuse of a glare, he said, amused. Haku jumped down from where was twirling the ice needle, so he replied. Haku asked. Naruto was confused. Who was he? Yes, time to head to Iron Country. Naruto's eyes widened. He had learned about Iron Country. Apparently they were the only place that had remained neutral in the last 3 great shinobi wars and had no ninja but were left alone regardless. They were well respected and the only place that produced strong samurai instead of shinobi. Their leader was also said to be able to slice a fully fledged jonin in half before he had even finished his first hand sign. But they were also rumored not to accept any ninja. Naruto voiced his confusion to Zabuza, expecting an explanation, but was met with a laugh instead. Taking pity on Naruto, Haku explained the situation to him. Lord Mifune, the ruler of Iron Country and leader of the samurais, met and fought Zabuza back before he became the leader. They crossed swords during a misunderstanding on a mission. They were assigned to protect the daimyo of 2 countries, and when they arrived at the designated location, they thought the other was the enemy and crossed swords. Lord Mifune was taught by a samurai that had hatred towards ninja and believed all ninja were barbaric. Thus when he saw Zabuza in an area that was hosting daimyos, he thought he was a no-good ninja, and attacked. Zabuza thought that Lord Mifune was a hired assassination by a third party and defended himself. They crossed swords, but their fight ended when they discovered that neither was an assassin. Having learned that the other was not an assassin, they both stopped fighting immediately. As an apology to attacking Zabuza, Lord Mifune told him that anytime Zabuza needed help, Lord Mifune would do all in his power to help. And I'm guessing that Zabuza is calling in that favor now. Haku looked at Zabuza for confirmation. Zabuza nodded, yes, that is true. Besides, seeing how you fight, your unpredictable nature and your natural-born instincts, I have come to the conclusion that you will be one of the best swordsmen. And what better place to start than the land whose forces is comprised mostly of swordsmen? Naruto's eyes were wide at the new information. Zabuza had fought the leader of samurai to a draw? The same one who is said to kill Jonin without them completing even one hand sign. Only one word would describe this. Awesome, he shouted, jumping and almost hitting his head on the branch Haku was sitting on. A week later, 3 figures clad in a brown cloak were seen traveling the snowy roads of Iron Country. The tallest one had a huge sword on his back and bandages around the lower half of his face. The other 2 were about the same height. One had blonde spiky hair and the other looked female. The female-looking one's hand was rapidly twitching towards a pouch on his leg. I swear, if another passing guy hits on me again, I'm going to stick this senbon where the sun doesn't shine, Haku muttered darkly. Relax Haku, we are here, Zabuza said with a slight smile behind his bandages. Naruto looked down from where his eyes were watching the birds of iron. He looked forward and saw 2 samurai in front of them, guarding a gate. Halt, this is as far as you get, ninja, one of them spat, hand already on his sword. Haku and Naruto's hands flew towards their pouches, ready to grab a weapon to defend themselves while Zabuza simply put his hand in his cloak and withdrew a scroll. He tossed the scroll towards the other guard. Who are you to deny me an invitation from your leader? He asked in a bored tone. The 2 guards' eyes widened as they read the contents. Our apologies, we were not informed of your arrival, they bowed. I will take you to Lord Mifune immediately. The second one said, follow me. They trio followed the samurai guard through the city, drawing curious looks from the inhabitants. Naruto looked around in wonder. So this is what Iron Country looks like. Soon they arrived at a mansion. Mifune was already there, ready to greet them. Mifune was a slightly old man with a goatee, slightly long hair at the back of his hair and bandages around his head. He was dressed in purple robes with a sword at his side. Zabuza, old friend, it's been so long. I thought you forgot me, he smiled. No Mifune, I remember you, and your offer. I have come to take you up on your offer. I have found a student whom I believe has the potential of being one of the best swordsmen, even better than you. Zabuza said in a flat voice. Mifune's eyes hardened and he lost his smile. Let's talk about this inside. Takeshi, back to your post. Yes, Lord Mifune. The samurai bowed and left. The group went inside the mansion, though huge, had a cozy feeling. Once inside, they sat on some chairs and Mifune looked at Zabuza. Now I believe that my old ears have been failing me. I know I did not hear you say that one of these children has the potential to be a greater swordsman than me. I did, was Zabuza's simple answer. Impossible. Mifune shouted, to become a great swordsman. One needs years of discipline, many hours of sweat and an unbreakable will. You should know better Zabuza. Mifune looked at him in disappointment. Naruto has a unique fighting style. He has not had any training, yet he can beat some chunin. He relies more on instinct, and you know how rare natural-born instincts are. He looked pointedly at Mifune, who still looked skeptical. Besides, he has an unbreakable will, as he had shown for. How long had you been Orochimaru's experiment, Naruto? Zabuza looked at Naruto. Since I can remember, I'm guessing since birth. Naruto answered without hesitation. Mifune's eyes widened. Even he had heard about the Rouge Ninja Orochimaru and his experiments that can break a grown man in less than a week. And judging by Naruto's height and structure, he must have been only 9 to 10 years old. And he doesn't seem insane or bloodthirsty either, he thought. Very well, I shall give him the benefit of a doubt, for now. I shall put him through an obstacle course for young samurai. It will test the mind and body. If he passes, I will have a sword made to fit him, and give him beginner's training. He conceded. However, if he fails, you must admit that you are wrong and I was right. Mifune held out his hand. Very well. They shook hands, Zabuza looking at Naruto. Mifune led the trio of ninja to a small courtyard filled with test dummies and a table with many different swords. For your first test, you will select any sword you want from this table. Pick one you feel most drawn to. Mifune commanded. Naruto looked at the table that was displaying over a dozen swords. Finally, he chose a simple katana. Now, you are to destroy as many of those dummies as possible. You may only use your sword and legs. You only have 5 minutes. Begin when you are ready. Looking at the dummies, Naruto remembered the first time he picked up a sword. It was on their way to the land of iron. Thinking of that day made phantom pains run through his body. But then and again, it allowed him to at least know some form of swordsmanship beforehand, and compared to that sword, the katana in his hand barely weighed anything. Flashback. The 3 ninja were on their way to the land of iron when it started to rain. "Aw man, I can't see anything in this rain," Naruto complained. "Shut your whining," Zabuza shouted over the downpour. "There is a town not far from here. We will stay there until the rain clears." The next morning, Zabuza led Haku and Naruto into a small clearing. He unsealed a sword and explained, "This is what I used to use before I could wield my executioner blade. It helped me build my strength and stamina so I can use it easier." Naruto just looked at the sword in wonder. "Pick it up," Zabuza pointed to the large no-dacha sword in front of Naruto. The blade wasn't anywhere close to the size of the massive blade used by the demon of the hidden mist, but it still seemed too big for Naruto's relatively small frame. After some struggling to get it out of the earth, Naruto finally managed it. "Alright, now what?" Naruto rested the blade on his shoulder. "Now Haku has prepared some targets for you to go against." Zabuza tilted his head and Naruto turned around, noticing how the puddles left after the rain began to turn into replicas of the masked ice user. They didn't seem very active though, most likely they were just targets, but relatively realistic ones. "What are you waiting for, brat? An invitation? Get to work." "TCH, fine." Naruto dashed forward. He cleaved right through the nearest target, but then nearly fell over. The sword wasn't helping his balance. As a result, then next strike missed horribly, and that's against a stationary target. "Are you trying to be pathetic, or does it come naturally?" Haku laughed while sitting on the edge of the roof. "Oh, shut up, you gender-confused bastard. I am not gender-confused. Who are you trying to fool?" "Ah!" Naruto screamed when Zabuza's massive blade struck the ground right in front of him, nearly cleaving the boy in half. "I said, get to work," Zabuza growled, and that voice promised nothing but pain. I'm going." Naruto went on swinging the blade, but again it wasn't as simple as it seemed. "Work with the blade, not against it," the veteran assassin instructed, while leaning on the flat side of his own massive weapon that remained stuck in the ground. "Yeah, how do I do that?" Naruto nearly fell over. The blade had no problem disposing of the targets, but that was the only good thing about it so far. "Figure it out," was the only reply he got. For crying out loud, Naruto nearly screamed when he almost fell over again, but the sword still hit the ground again. As before, the blade was too heavy. After a strike it was hard to force it up or to the other side. But then again, perhaps that was what Zabuza meant. Naruto allowed the heavy blade to continue its path and spun around, using the momentum to bring the weapon down in a devastating overhead slash. "Aha, so that is how you do it." Naruto cheered in triumph. Haku leaned closer, noticing how Naruto began to use the momentum of the heavy weapon to turn strikes into combinations of slashes. They were crude, amateurish, but they were effective, and they showed the raw talent of the boy, who managed to figure things out more due to his instincts than actual logic. Given enough training, he would become a true beast on the battlefield, and the rapidly disappearing targets were clear proof of that. "Phew, done," Naruto sighed and again rested the blade on his shoulder. He was soaked in both water and his own sweat, but looked pleased with himself. "So, now what?" "Repeat." Zabuza shrugged and Haku restored the targets. "You've got to be kidding me." Naruto whined. End of flashback. A katana. According to what Zabuza said, it would suit him well. It is extremely flexible and deadly if wielded correctly, and is capable of wild and unpredictable movements. Perfect for someone like him. After all, a person who relies more on instinct and improvising instead of solid forms is a deadly opponent. But a true master will have solid forms but can improvise in a moment's notice, Mifune thought from the sidelines. PFT, those things? Easy. Naruto dashed forward, striking the nearest training dummy, though apparently it wasn't as simple as that. No, hitting the thing wasn't hard, but apparently the thing could spin after the blow, and to make matters worse, The mechanisms inside made various sections move in different directions. The result was obvious. A strong wooden limb struck him in the back of the head and Naruto fell face down in the mud. Time waits for no man. Mifune crossed his hands on his chest. Oh, shut up. Naruto pushed himself up and simply kicked the training dummy with enough force to break it. He then began moving from one target to another. He obviously had no technique. His attacks were straightforward, primitive and brutal. They caused much damage, but Naruto received a blow after a blow himself and only his tolerance for pain and sheer stamina allowed him to keep moving. Enough, Mifune commanded as another training dummy fell, reduced to several deformed pieces. So, how did I do? Naruto took a few moments to catch his breath, placing the sword on his shoulder. You have potential as a fighter, as you clearly can use a blade, at least when it comes to basics, and there is much work ahead of you. But we will see. Hey, meaning I did awesome, Naruto grinned cheekily. No, you barely passed that one. And this is only the first test. There are more to come. Mifune shot him down immediately. No need for the kid to get arrogant, that was how many samurai and ninja with potential died. Mifune then took him to another room. On the way, some samurai lead Haku and Zabuza away. For the next tests, they cannot be there as they can distract you. Mifune answered Naruto's unasked question. Finally, they arrived in what seemed to be a mostly empty room. There was a container of water with a rope and dummy above it and a pedestal about 3 meters away. The floor was made of many uneven tiles. Some were high, some were low and others were just in between. As he was taking this all in, Mifune started talking. Before we begin, tell me, why do you wish to train in the ways of the sword? Naruto was unprepared for the question but answered anyways, I want to get stronger. Only then can I protect my precious people. Though not many, I can count them all on one hand. I will still die for them. Mifune stared at him for a bit before speaking. I see, that is a good reason. If you fight for others, you will be stronger than if you fight for yourself. Mifune then turned away. For the next test, there will be a hostage scenario. There is a living person and an important document. They will both be placed in danger and you will have to think quickly on whether you will save the hostage, a human life, or the document that may or may not lead to war. For this test, let's pretend that this hostage is one of your precious people. Can you place his or her life above an entire country and risk many more people dying for one person? Naruto looked at him in shock. He was supposed to choose between his precious people or an entire country. Before he could fully grasp the situation, Mifune showed him the training dummy and scroll. This dummy here is the hostage, and this scroll is the document. They will both be placed in areas with traps. One misstep could lead to the hostage, scroll or both burnt. The traps will be, either lowering the dummy, lighting the fire, both are a rare decoy trap which will do nothing. The dummy and scroll will be placed 4 meters apart. The scroll will be on a pedestal while the hostage will be over a container of water. If you touch of either, the other will fall or be burnt. You have 5 minutes, pause, begin. And just like that, Mifune left the room faster than Naruto could follow. Fast, he thought, but didn't have time to dwell on it. He looked at the traps. There seemed to be a slight difference in each stone, but he could still see that some were higher, lower, or loose. Now to figure out which one was which. Naruto slowly stepped on the highest one. Immediately the candles on the pedestal lit up and moved slightly closer to the scroll. Naruto then stepped away and onto a loose stone. The dummy lowered. Naruto took a large jump and landed on another high stone, though this time, the fire moved more than the last. Oh, I forgot to mention, the more force you touch the traps with, the higher the effect. Mifune's voice echoed through the walls. Of course you did, Naruto thought sarcastically. Great, the scroll is about halfway to burning and the hostage is about 3/4 there, he observed as he scanned the room. He was only 1/4 way across. I'll never make it at this rate, he started panicking. Seeing no other option since he was surrounded by high stones, which he presumed would lead to the burnt scroll, he took a running start and tried to cover as much distance as possible. Seeing he was going to land on a higher stone, he panicked. At this force, the scroll would be burned for sure. He thought in panic. Suddenly, he had an idea. He tucked his body in and tried to aim for another one that wasn't high and minimize the impact. He landed on a medium-sized stone, about halfway out. He slowly opened his eyes and saw everything was still the same. Must be a decoy stone, he thought in relief. Now was the problem, he was exactly 1 meter from either scroll or dummy and couldn't decide which. Then, another bright idea popped up. He never said I couldn't use ninjutsu, or that I couldn't save both, he thought in glee. He made the hand seals for the water clone jutsu and 2 popped in existence. Ah well, close enough. I was aiming for 1. He ordered 1 to go to the pedestal and the other 1 to follow him to the water container. It was taller than him. He made the clone boost him up while the other prepared to grab the scroll. But then the one going for the scroll accidentally touched it, causing the dummy to start falling in the water. Naruto's clone boosted him up before bursting into water. In the air, with no way to move, Naruto created another clone to throw him. He tackled the dummy in midair and landed safely on the other side. He took a moment to steady his breathing before opening up his eyes, only to find Mifune looking at him with an unidentifiable look. The clone walked over and gave Naruto the scroll before popping like the others. "Su, how did I do?" he asked nervously. This was supposed to test a samurai's ability to move quickly and only stepping lightly, though your methods are unorthodox and you used ninjutsu, which defeats the purpose and could be considered cheating. Mifune started before he was interrupted. "But you never said I couldn't," Naruto pointed out. "Yes, that is the only reason why I'm not failing you now," Mifune sighed before holding out his hand palm up. Naruto gave him the scroll. The samurai leader clicked his fingers and 3 other samurai appeared. He gave the scroll to the first one, who then proceeded to leave. Oddly, the second one was holding a sword, but Naruto didn't think too much of it. It was the third one that caught Naruto's attention. What, or rather who he was holding. "Haku, you say you will place your precious people above all, including yourself, but yet when it comes down to it, can you really? Even if you do you have the power to protect them? Do you have what it takes?" Mifune stated emotionlessly as Naruto snapped out of his shock and glared at him with anger in his eyes. "Why, I thought you samurai were honorable. Where's the damn honor I heard about?" He yelled towards Mifune, but said master swordsman ignored him and commanded the samurai to give a sword to Naruto. "Prove to me that you can. Prove to me why Zabuza thought you had the potential to surpass me. Prove to me that you can protect your precious people." Mifune drew his own sword and held it to Haku's neck, "Or else he dies. The only way to save him is to defeat me." Naruto's glare became harsher. "I'll kill you," he snarled in anger. Mifune merely laughed as he withdrew his sword from Haku and moved to the center of the room. "Come, I'm waiting." Naruto grabbed the sword from the samurai and sped at Mifune, sword already in motion. With a roar of anger, he brought it down in an overhead strike. Instead of blocking it, Mifune simply sidestepped the strike. However, Naruto learned from his prior training with Zabuza and used the sword's momentum to swing it the other way, forcing Mifune to block. "Not bad, but if this is the best you can do, then you might as well give up." "Shut up," Naruto roared, a flicker of red dancing across his eyes. For the next few minutes, Naruto slashed and hacked at Mifune. Though the attacks were powerful and wild, the trained samurai leader had little trouble defending. Dodging a kick here, parrying a stab there, blocking a slash here, deflecting a strike there. This cycle carried on until Naruto was out of breath. "Stop moving," he roared as he charged once more. He sent another devastating strike at the samurai, but instead of simply sidestepping it again, he sent his own strike, blocking and breaking Naruto's sword and throwing him back. Naruto landed on his back, still holding the handle of the now broken sword, the shards scattered around him. "Pathetic, what happened to the unbreakable will Zabuza spoke of? Were you being an experiment of Orochimaru a lie?" Mifune sneered, sheathing his sword. "Guess Zabuza was wrong to put his trust in you." With that, something in Naruto snapped. Red chakra started flowing from him, first just a cloak, then a single tail sprouted. On the sidelines, the samurai and Haku felt a wave of killing intent wash over them. The samurai's eyes widened, not expecting such power from a 9-year-old, while Haku, being exposed to the demon of the mist for so long, was not as shocked at the key, though he wondered where the red chakra came from. "I'm pretty sure that no normal ninja can call upon that much chakra, neither do I remember it being red for that matter. I'll lend you some of my power, but you are still too young and can't control my chakra. For now, I will do it for you." "Thanks, Fox," Naruto thought as he got up. The tail made of red chakra moved and receded back into the cloak. The cloak started thinning out, but instead of receding, it all moved and focused into Naruto's right hand, forming a katana. The katana was about a meter long from hilt to the end of the blade. The handle was black and the blade. Mifune gasped. The blade was a blood red and gave off an aura of killing intent. It was as if the blade embodied the nine-tailed demon itself. Naruto looked up, his eyes red with a slit in the middle. I will show you that Zabuza wasn't wrong to trust me. And with that, Naruto sped at Mifune again, cracking the floor with the amount of force he used. It was only due to his experience and his mastery of the one slash that saved the samurai leader. The one slash was based on the quick draw of the sword while moving at high speed. The user would move from a standstill to top speed in a fraction of a second. This combined with the quick drawing of the sword would kill most enemies before they could blink. By mastering it, Mifune had trained himself in high-speed movement. His eyes could process images quicker, not quite on the Sharingan's level, but close, and his body could react in time. This combined with the quick draw helped him to keep track of Naruto while his quick drawing allowed him to just barely deflect the sword. Naruto turned and attacked the samurai master again. His movements faster, his strikes stronger, and since his sword was made from the nine tails chakra, it was able to withstand the strikes. Any chips that were made were instantly mended by the chakra. Even Mifune was hard-pressed to defend against the onslaught. Noticing that his blade was starting to crack, Mifune started dodging more often instead of blocking. This enraged Naruto even more, causing him to draw on more of Demon Fox's chakra. Careful Naruto, any more and your body would be damaged beyond repair. You are only 9 years old after all. On the sidelines, Haku saw that Naruto was not only starting to attack with reckless abandon, but what worried him was that Naruto started to sprout the cloak and another tail again. He saw some of Naruto's skin peel off like it was sunburned, but it healed just as fast, so he couldn't be sure. Moving and attacking at that speed will put a strain on anyone's body. If this carries on, he might not survive, Haku thought, worried. Back at the fight, Naruto was panting heavily. Stop running, you coward. He roared and charged again, though his movements were noticeably slower and he seemed to wince at every step. Finally Naruto got in a lucky shot and disarmed Mifune. He was preparing for another slash when Haku had enough. Naruto, stop, he shouted, dropping the transformation and revealing he was perfectly fine. Relax, I'm okay, he said. Naruto sighed in relief and lowered his sword. What? Oh, good. I'm just gonna crash here, he muttered as he fell asleep. The last thing he remembered was Haku shouting his name. Next day, though Naruto woke up in an unfamiliar bed, he heard voices that sounded familiar. Quote ellipsis. And I'm telling you Haku, I have a suspicion, but it's not my place to say. Naruto groaned. I hope me being woken up by you two after going unconscious isn't going to be a normal thing. Good, you're up kid. Mifune wants to talk to you, came the gruff voice of Zabuza, already getting up and heading for the door. After some grumbling about, damn eyebrow-less demons, and a few lost brain cells due to being hit on his head later, the trio of ninja arrived at the mansion of the samurai leader. Is it wise to keep hitting him, Zabuza? He doesn't have much more brain cells to lose. Yay, hey. Mifune was interrupted from reading his newspaper when the one official and two unofficial ninja came around the corner. Mifune's eyebrows rose when they saw Naruto being restrained by the other two. Come on guys. It's not like I'll attack him. Haku wasn't hurt, so there is no need for me to hold a grudge. Yeah, just to be safe kid. Zabuza drawled through his bandages. Cue more muttering from Naruto and a hit courtesy of Zabuza. Seeing as he was going to go into another rant, Mifune decided to interfere. You heal fast Naruto. I wasn't expecting you to be out of hospital for another 2 days. Naruto shrugged. I heal fast, one of the main reasons why Orochimaru was so interested in me. Mifune nodded. One of them? Yeah, though sometimes before I fall unconscious, I hear some mutters of immortality, blonde bastard fourths, revenge and Uzumaki's. I see. Mifune pursed his lips, then glancing at Zabuza, whose eyes widened a fraction of a margin. Well, back to what I called you here for. I am a man of honor, and since you passed my test, I will train you in the ways of the sword, and since you impressed me, managing to disarm me, no small feat for someone who is still a beginner, even if I wasn't going all out. I will teach you the technique that made me famous, the one slash. One word summed up what was going through the blonde's head. Cool. Mifune chuckled. We will start your training tomorrow. Be here at 8, clear? Naruto saluted. Sir, yes sir. Now off with you, I want to discuss some grown-up stuff. Haku, watch him and make sure he doesn't get into trouble. Yes, Mifune-sama, he replied, causing Naruto to pout as they walked out the door. No fair, you're just as young as me. But I'm still more mature than you. No you're not. Yes I am. Femboy. Knucklehead. Mifune and Zabuza sighed as the two continued bickering as they left. Finally, when they couldn't hear the boys anymore, Mifune turned to Zabuza. Now I believe that you had something to say? He inquired. His parents, was the simple answer. What of them? Don't act ignorant, Mifune. I'm sure you've come to the same conclusion. He's the child of the Leaf's red hot-blooded habanero and the yellow flash. How did you come to this conclusion? Come on, Mifune. Don't tell me you are going blind? Naruto is almost a carbon copy of the Namikaze, and the only woman that he was rumored to be dating was Kushina Uzumaki. And it is no surprise that Orochimaru would hate him. They were both candidates for the position of Yondaime Hokage. If Namikaze had a child, Orochimaru would jump at the first chance to kidnap him because the Namikaze stole what was rightfully his. And don't think I didn't feel that chakra yesterday. That was undoubtedly the chakra of a Biju. Naruto is a Jinchuriki, and not just any, the Jinchuriki of the nine-tailed fox. By now Zabuza was pacing around and waving his hands in the air. Mifune calmly offered him some tea. Here, some tea would calm you down. Zabuza took the offered cup and downed it in a single gulp before sitting back down. Now that you're calm, what do you plan to do with this information? Last I heard, the Uzumaki were wiped out, a few survivors scattered across the elemental nations. Mifune said as he sipped his own tea. Zabuza stared at his empty cup. I gotta go and talk to an old acquaintance, back in Mist. I think I'll be gone for about a month, 2 at most. That should give you enough time to train Naruto in the way of the swords. It won't, even if I spend every hour training him to the ground, even with his dedication, it will take him at least a year to even reach an acceptable level. Then I'll leave you a scroll to teach him a technique that will possibly reduce the time to a month. Though I never used it too much myself. I only knew of it when I found the scroll off some dead leaf Jonin back when I was still under Mist, he said, quickly jotting down a few notes for the technique before handing to Mifune. Frowning at the shortcut, but reading the scroll nonetheless. Mifune looked at Zabuza. But it says that it divides the user's chakra, isn't that dangerous? Well, he's an Uzumaki, isn't he? You know, the whole ton of chakra thing? Very well then, when will you be leaving? He asked, tucking the scroll in his robes. Tomorrow morning, once I tell him, Zabuza said, standing up again. Mifune nodded. What about Haku? If it isn't too much trouble, I will leave him with you. I'll leave a scroll of ice techniques for him to learn. Ice? He has the bloodline? Zabuza simply nodded. Then I also have a scroll for him. Something I got off a missing nin trying to attack me, but that was before I became the leader. Tried to sell it, but no one would take it since they either couldn't use it or feared the fourth Mizukage and his bloodline purges. Zabuza nodded with a frown. We're still trying to overthrow him. One of the reasons I'm going back is to see how far the rebels have gotten. I see, then I will not keep you any longer. You will need the energy for the journey. I bid you safe travels. Mifune stood, holding out his hand. Till I return. Mifune, Zabuza grasped his hand with a hidden smirk. Naruto woke up the next morning feeling quite giddy. He brushed his teeth and did his newly adopted routine. It's not often the experiments of Orochimaru got time for their personal hygiene after all. After eating the provided breakfast of omelets, rice and some vegetables, Naruto felt ready for his first day of training. Arriving at Mifune's mansion before the appointed time of 8 and with 30 minutes to spare, Naruto wondered what to do. He found a spot where he could see a clock and relaxed, thinking of what Zabuza told him last evening. Zabuza is leaving for some secret place. He never told us what he's doing there or why. Naruto groaned. He basically just said, I'm leaving for a month or 2. You two play nice and train hard. That's right, Zabuza left Haku too. Though he did leave him a scroll for a technique he said he was given by another Yuki that was dying due to the massacre in Mist. He said that he didn't want the technique to fall in the wrong hands. Who knows what people like Yagura or Orochimaru could come up with from it. Naruto sighed before looking at the clock again. Only 5 minutes to go. He decided to start heading for the gate of the mansion. Arriving, he saw it was open and Mifune was sitting on a stone table outside, sipping some tea and facing away from him. "Ah, Naruto. Right on time," Mifune greeted before sipping his tea once more. Naruto was surprised how had he known he was there. Naruto hadn't said a word. Mifune smiled. "I see you are surprised. Some sit and have some tea," he invited. Naruto dumbly walked over and sat down. "How did you know I was there?" "I didn't say a word." Mifune smiled. "I have trained myself to hear sounds that most can't hear, surpassing even some with bloodlines, like the Inuzuka of the leaf. Your footsteps are like drums to me." Naruto's eyes widened. "That's so cool. Will you teach it to me? Please?" he begged. Mifune just smiled. "You will learn it if you train hard enough." "Alright, then let's start now," he screamed, jumping to his feet. "Not so fast, there is something I would like to discuss with you first." Naruto stopped hopping around. "What is it?" "It's about what happened in your test, more specifically, the last few minutes." Naruto froze. "Aw man. What did I do this time?" His fear only grew when he saw the stern expression on the wizened samurai's face. He, sorry?" Naruto asked as he scratched the back of his head. Mifune just shook his head. "Tell me, what do you know of the 9 Biju?" There are 9 of them and I have the 9-tailed fox?" Naruto asked. "I see, so have you met it?" "Yeah, I met him just over a month ago," Naruto stated as he went on telling the story of how he was training then had to fight exhausted, the rush of power and finally meeting the fox. Mifune just sat there listening. "I see, you seem to be on friendlier terms than most I have heard, apart from the Jinchuriki from Cloud. And since you know pretty much all I was going to say, I'm just gonna warn you against using borrowed power too often, not only because you should work for your power, but also because they often come with a price. In your case, using its chakra could destroy your chakra system or even kill you." Naruto nodded. "Fox said the same thing during our fight too. He said that I should watch out because I'm too young and I can't control his chakra. Also that if I don't watch out, my body would be damaged beyond repair." The samurai leader was surprised that the demon fox would care that Naruto's body would be damaged, but he left it as another one of the secrets that he wouldn't solve in his lifetime. "Well, that's all I had to say. Now how about we get started?" "All right," Naruto cheered. Mifune smiled. Naruto was an eager kid. There aren't enough of kids like him around. "First go take 20 laps around the mansion. I'll have your training schedule by the time you come back." Mifune watched him salute and run before heading to get the schedule prepared. Half an hour later, Mifune walked out just as Naruto finished the laps. "Take a moment, and breath," he said while handing Naruto his training plan. Training timetable: 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock tea, meditation. 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock warm-ups, 20 laps around the mansion, 5 minutes stretching, 50 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock sparring. 11 o'clock to 11:30 discussion of mistakes, lunch. 11:30 to 1400 training in kata and forms. 1400 to 14:15 break. 14:15 to 1500 sparring. 1500 to 16:30 questions and learning. Mifune watched in slight amusement as Naruto read on. It was a little hard on the 9-year-old, but better to train hard now and not regret it later. Later that day, Naruto was dead on his feet and had never been more grateful to hear a bell. He used to hate the bell since it would have been a call for another fight, but now he loved it since it signaled the end of the sparring against Mifune. "Alright, that's enough for today. Now we will have a session where I will answer any question you have. Be it from today's training, questions on sword forms, history, or anything you can think of." Brat, asking about multi-wielding. "My sense of time has been disoriented after the ceilings and I want to know how lost the art is." The demon's voice came across Naruto's mind. "I didn't know you could speak to me without me in my mind or using your chakra. Why didn't you do it earlier? That could have saved me many years of walls." Naruto grumbled at the fox. "Shut your grumbling, brat. The reason I can talk to you now is because of my chakra that is still in your body. Once those have been used up, either converted or wasted, I won't be able to talk to you again. Now ask the old man that question before you look more like the idiot you are." Naruto realized that while he had been in a mental debate with the fox, his body had been staring into space. "Welcome back, said an amused Mifune. He, sorry about that. Kyuubi wanted to talk to me, Naruto replied sheepishly. I figured about as much, what did he want? He told me to ask you about multi-wielding and how lost the art is. Mifune was surprised. Multi-wielding hasn't been seen very often. There used to be quite a few, with different amount of swords. Mifune looked up at the sunset. As not to bore you, I will only list the strongest of each sword number. Seeing Naruto nod, Mifune continued. There was Kirigaya Kazuto the dual wielder, also known as the Black Swordsman. Roronoa Zoro, the user of the Santoryu, the three-sword style. He was known as the Pirate Hunter. Haku, one of the pirates Zoro defeated. His clan name has been washed away by time, but their bloodline allowed them to transform into animals. He wielded 4 swords. Date Masamune, the one-eyed dragon, wielder of 6 swords. He was a samurai, an incredibly strong one at that, and he was much stronger than me. And the most recent one, Killer Bee, brother of the Raikage, wielder of 7 swords and the container of the 8 tails. Naruto was shocked. There was someone like him. And to top it all off, he's alive and could help him with both his swordsmanship and the 9 tails if needed. Then he noticed something. Wait, you skipped out 5 swords. He pointed out. Mifune sighed, yes, for some reason. No one used 5 swords, and if they did, it was never written down or it got lost in the sands of time. Naruto nodded. So the highest amount of swords was 7? He asked, feeling a little pride of his fellow cantainer's achievement. No, there was one who claimed to use 8, Hachin. He looked like an octopus and was another pirate swordsman Zoro defeated. Though due to his sword wielding having no form, he was not regarded as a true swordsman. Besides that, Zoro also managed to partially use 9 swords. This was done by creating a part illusion and it triples his potential as a swordsman. Naruto was in awe. Roronoa Zoro must have been an awesome swordsman. Defeating a wielder of 4 swords and a pseudo-wielder of 8. He even wielded 9 to an extent. Wow, Zoro must have been a genius, he cried. Not exactly. But he is a prime example of what hard work can achieve. Back when he was learning, he had a rival, Kuniya, and he always lost to her. So with this in mind, Zoro tried to increase the amount of swords he used in order to defeat her. But on their 2000th fight, Zoro challenged her to a duel, but with real swords. Again, the fight ended in his loss. The next morning, she suffered an accident and died. From that point on, Zoro trained even harder to become the greatest swordsman, for both his dream and hers. Mifune looked at Naruto, who was totally focused. That's enough for now. It's getting late and you still got to train tomorrow. Right. That night, Naruto, the old samurai, didn't tell you one thing. The best swordsman, the best of the best, one of the creators of the infinite one sword style. His name may have been lost to humans, but I still remember him. His name was Luo Yushio. He was without equal, and one of the only that gained my respect, and the only I could call my equal. Naruto was awed. An equal to the greatest tailed beasts? Even the weakest were a threat to a cage-level shinobi, but the strongest was something that was feared by all. And this guy was his equal? The reason I told you to ask Mifune was not just because I wanted to see how the multi-wielding art is, but also to see if they still remembered him. But from what I heard, they don't even know of his art anymore, even if they practice a watered-down version of it themselves, he growled. Naruto was slightly scared of him and the killing intent he let off. It was much more than anything he had ever encountered. Maybe it was some act of self-preservation. Maybe it was something higher-up's idea. Whatever it was, it caused him to make a foolish decision. Then show me his ways, teach me his style, allow me to remind them why the infinite one sword style was so feared. He looked at the giant chakra construct. As if a little brat like you would ever manage to be that good, he laughed. The reason it was feared is because of the devastation its techniques could cause, and the mastery required. Lu created it and split it into 9 stages. The body, movement, sword, double sword, summoning, skewering, massacre, hell's ascension, and the final stage, the infinite master. Then I will master it. And become the next infinite master. Naruto shouted with determination. Kyuubi shook his head. That is impossible. To become an infinite master, you must be trained by one of them, and I doubt any are alive. Naruto lost some of his enthusiasm. What about you? Can't you teach me? The fox shook his head again. No, I'm not a master, and though Luo tried to train me, I only got up to stage 7, and that was only due to my demonic nature, meaning I didn't exactly master the style the normal way and my way wouldn't work for you. I can only teach you up to stage 5 inches. Then teach me, Naruto asked. What about when you reach stage 5? What then? I'll find a way to go to the next stage, somehow. Naruto was really grasping at the straws now. Fine, I'll start your training when you wake up. Yes, Naruto cheered. Now, let me be. Before Naruto could reply, the sewer disappeared and he was thrust in another world, one of his own dreams. The next morning, Naruto woke up as usual, but when he tried to get up, he was met with more resistance than he expected. Before he could freak out, he heard the sound of the fox. I had added resistance seals to your body. This is stage 1. You will have the resistance seals on at all times. This helps you improve your speed faster. When you get used to it, I will up the resistance again. What about my training with Mifune? He asked. You will still train as you would. You will need some of the basics for the infinite one sword style. Naruto sighed as he went about his morning routine with some difficulty, but nothing he couldn't manage, eventually. 8 a.m. Naruto was at Mifune's mansion, ready for training. After some tea, where Naruto told Mifune about the resistance seals when the samurai asked why Naruto was moving so slow, in meditation, Mifune decided to give him the scroll on shadow clones. Naruto, seeing as you are still getting used to the resistance seals, let's take it a bit easy today. Zabuza gave me this ninjutsu scroll for you to learn. Now while we samurai don't use ninjutsu often, I believe this will help you with your training. Naruto took the offered scroll and read it out loud. Shadow clone jutsu, he muttered. I have read the scroll myself and it appears that this technique divides the user's chakra to create clones, and when the clones dispel, the user gains their memories. Mifune said. Naruto nodded. I'll get to it right away, he said. It took him the whole day, having to stop a few times to replenish his chakra, but by the end of the day, he had gotten to the point where he was confident he wouldn't fail at performing it. By the end of it all, he only had time to smile for a brief moment before falling unconscious due to chakra exhaustion. It's been almost 2 months. Mifune had gotten a message from Zabuza stating that he would be back soon. With this in mind, he decided to conclude Naruto's training. Naruto had been working hard in the 2 months. After discovering Naruto's amazing ability to mass-produce shadow clones, Mifune put it to good use. With at least 10 samurai supervising to ensure he did the training correctly and if had any questions. Mifune also designed a separate training schedule for the clones. He had 100 working on kata, 100 working on education. He discovered that Naruto only received the education he needed and things like science and human anatomy were almost new terms to him. 100 working on the double and twin slash. Mifune also discovered that with the clones, Naruto learned the techniques at an amazing rate and mastered the one slash in a month. The double and twin slash were advanced forms that Naruto made up. The double slash was Naruto using 2 swords sheathed across his back and quickly drawing them. The twin slash was Naruto creating a shadow clone and standing on opposite sides of the opponent. Each would then use the one slash at the same time, cutting them into 3 pieces. All with at least 10 samurai to help, of course. The new timetable looked something like this. 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock tea, meditation. 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock warm-ups. 50 laps around the mansion. 5 minutes stretching, 100 push-ups, 200 sit-ups. 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock sparring. 11 o'clock to 11:30 discussion of mistakes, lunch. 11:30 to 1400 sparring. 1400 to 14:15 break while dispelling clones in groups. 14:15 to 16:30 double and twin slash. Naruto himself had grown quite a bit. He had lost most of whatever baby fat he had, grown a few inches and was smarter than most 15-year-olds. His resistance on the seal had gone up twice. He was working on stage 2 of the training. Around when the second month started, the fox pulled him into his mindscape to tell him about it. Stage 2 of the infinite one sword style was about momentum. Naruto was taught how to keep momentum up and to move one move into another. The fox told him that it was essential to keep moving and keeping the enemy on guard. Unknown to Mifune, Naruto always created about 100 clones before arriving at the mansion. The clones would find an unoccupied training field and work on the style. They would work in groups of 10 until they dispelled. Then the next 10 would take their place. As he had for the past month or so, Naruto created his clones and headed for Mifune's mansion. However, instead of seeing the grounds prepared for training, he saw Mifune sipping tea and reading some papers. "Good morning, Naruto. I have received a message from Zabuza. He is due to arrive in a few days. Before you go, I want to test how much you've improved. Rest for today, tomorrow we will have an all-out battle. Anything goes until one is unconscious or surrenders." Naruto was shocked. 2 months had passed so quickly. And not only that, but an all-out battle against Mifune. Naruto didn't have any illusions that the battle would be a cakewalk even if he was allowed to use ninjutsu. "Good morning, Mifune-sensei. Do you think that I'm really ready to defeat you in an all-out battle?" Mifune smiled. The kid doesn't give himself enough credit. With his crazy routine, he had already surpassed most of the older samurai already. And if he adds on his clones and other ninjutsu, then there are barely a handful of samurai that can defeat him. "Well, I guess we'll see tomorrow, won't we?" "I guess we will," Naruto grinned. "I'm gonna go tell Haku that Zabuza is coming back. See you tomorrow, sensei. Meet me at the samurai stadium tomorrow at 9. Mifune called after him. The old samurai leader watched him go. Once he was out of sight, Mifune stood up and went to his bookshelf. He pulled a book and revealed it was a lever for a hidden doorway. Walking in the dark with practiced ease, he eventually came across a dimly lit room that had a pedestal, and on the pedestal was a golden katana. It appears the time has come. Naruto walked away from the mansion in deep thought. It's been an entire 2 months already. Time really flies when you're training. Without really thinking about it, Naruto came across the training field that Haku was using. There were multiple puddles of water, ice senbon needles in trees and craters around the clearing. Naruto blinked. It seems that he wasn't the only one who was training hard. He was so busy looking around at the destruction he almost missed the ice ball that was heading towards him. It was only thanks to his reflexes that he got from training with Mifune that he didn't lose his head and ducked in time. It was a good thing too, because the next moment the ball landed a couple meters behind him and exploded into ice spikes. Naruto whistled, suddenly very glad that wasn't him. "You've been training hard, Haku." Haku landed next to him. "Why are you here instead of training with Lord Mifune?" Naruto pouted. "Ah, you so cold, Haku. Couldn't I come? I see my favorite femboy?" Haku grew a tick mark. "Firstly, I am a boy. Secondly, he created a ball of ice identical to the one that missed Naruto moments earlier. You got 10 seconds to tell me why you are here before I get a moving target to practice my new jutsu." Naruto started sweating. Damn, Haku is scary. 10. Naruto's eyes widened. 9. Naruto started backing away. 8. Now Haku. Let's not be hasty. 5. Haku got his arm in a position to throw. "Mifune-sensei told me Zabuza is coming back soon and I just thought I would tell you." Naruto blurted out so quickly that it took Haku a second to decipher it. Once done, he lowered his hand and let the ice ball fall apart. "Alright, thanks for telling me. Is that all?" "Well, pretty much, yeah. Oh, and I'm fighting Sensei in an all-out battle tomorrow." Haku was surprised at that. "Wow, good luck then. Thanks, I'll let you get back to your training." With that said, Naruto left the training grounds. The next day, Naruto got up early. He had barely been able to sleep the previous night. He got dressed, did his morning routine and checked all his equipment. Then double-checked it. By his 5th time checking it, the demon fox grew annoyed. "You have everything, you checked that. Nothing will disappear between your 1st and 5th check." "Right, I'm just nervous in facing against Sensei. I mean, sure, we sparred a lot in the last 2 months, but we never actually went full out," Naruto said as he adjusted his pouch he had gotten from Zabuza when he had left. "Just go there and kick his ass." Naruto was feeling better with the pep talk the fox was giving him. Maybe the fox was starting to like him. "And let me sleep. You are interrupting my nap time with all your noise." "Well, that goes that hope." Taking a deep breath, Naruto looked in the mirror and nodded. Being nervous won't help. He will just have to stop being nervous and just do his best. With this in mind, Naruto headed out. The streets seemed more deserted than usual. There were a few people around, but not as many as Naruto expected. Where'd they all go? There should be plenty of people at 8:30 in the morning. Naruto wondered out loud. Ah well, no time to think about it. Time to head to the stadium. Arriving at the stadium, Naruto finally saw where all the people had gone. He swallowed hard. That was a lot of people. The whole stadium was filled with people. Apparently word had gotten out that the samurai leader was going to be battling his new student today. Well Naruto, you ready? Naruto turned around. Haku, you here too? Yup, you better win. I betted quite a bit on you. Naruto groaned. Now he was just something to earn money off? Well better go. You wouldn't want to keep the crowd waiting, would you? Good luck. Naruto sighed. Haku was right. Naruto hung his head as he walked towards his doom. Naruto walked into the arena to find Mifune already waiting for him. Ah, good morning Naruto. Nervous? Mifune greeted. Good morning Mifune-sensei. Yeah, can't believe it's been 2 months already. Yes, time sure flies, doesn't it? Well, we've kept the crowd waiting long enough, don't you think? Mifune smiled before calling for a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. The samurai leader waited for the roar of the crowd to die down. Today is a special occasion. As you may have heard, in the last 2 months I had taken on a student. Today, I will personally battle him to see if he has trained enough to be recognized as a samurai in all but allegiance. The crowd was shocked. To become a samurai in 2 months was unheard of. The chances of him becoming one in that short of time are very low, even if he was trained by one of, if not the best swordsman alive. Now, I'm sure you have your doubts, but I'm sure that my young student will shock you all. Now let the battle begin. The crowd cheered once more. Ready Naruto? Mifune asked as he handed the microphone back to the ref. Seeing Naruto nod, Mifune motioned for Naruto to be given a sword as he got ready himself. Both swordsmen got in a ready position. Both prepared to both defend and attack. The ref let his hand fall. Begin. The two circled each other for a moment before Naruto charged, aiming for a stab to the stomach. Mifune twisted out the way before holding his sword to Naruto's neck. I thought I taught you better than that Naruto. Naruto smirked. You did? Mifune barely had any time to figure out what he meant before the Naruto in front of him dispelled in a poof of smoke. Shadow clone. Impressive Naruto, I didn't even see you make it, Mifune praised. Thank you sensei, I've been practicing, Naruto said as he revealed himself transformed as a rock and kicked at Mifune, who used his sword to block. Naruto changed tactics and used the sword as a spring to jump away. Naruto sheathed his sword before crossing his fingers. Shadow clone jutsu. Mifune narrowed his eyes when he saw half the arena filled with clones. Good move, surround me with clones and hiding yourself but not making enough to hinder your movements. The first clone attacked with a punch to the chest that Mifune ducked and used his body like a spinning top to trip the clone before kicking it at another, dispelling both. You know you won't defeat me that easily, right? Mifune looked around. Yes sensei, guess I'll have to kick it up a notch, twin slash. A pair of clones got in front and behind Mifune, both already in position for the twin slash. Mifune tensed. Both clones charged at the same time. Thanks to his superior experience, Mifune managed to find a small gap and deflecting the clones into each other. Well, I guess using it against a trained swordsman is bound to be different to using dummies. Good thing I prepared. Mifune narrowed his eyes even further. What did Naruto have planned that he didn't know about? Transform, Naruto shouted. 16 clones got in position around Mifune. 2 to his sides, 1 in front and behind him and another 4 diagonal to him. The other 8 stood about 2 meters behind them. They then all transformed into poles that were stuck to the ground. Mifune was confused. Poles? Sensei, this is something I prepared to show you yesterday before you cancelled the training. Something I have been working on for a little over 2 weeks. Naruto announced. Water style. Glimmering water chains. Chains formed around the poles on the outside, effectively trapping himself inside. 1/barrage. Mifune sweated a little. 8 clones, each at one of the clone poles. And if the name has any indication, then each of them would use the 1/. Though Naruto's speed and execution of the 1/ was nowhere near his, 8 of them would be no easy feat to avoid. Prepare yourself, sensei. Then all hell broke loose. Each of the 8 clones attacked in a seemingly random pattern of 1/. Mifune had no time to think about the attacks as he was forced to block blow after blow. Is it just me or are these clones speeding up? Mifune thought. The 1/barrage. First trap the opponent by creating 2 layers of poles. 1 in front, and 1 a bit behind them. Then close the gaps in the outer layer with chains. This has two functions. 1. To restrict their movement further. And 2. Naruto stopped his train of thought for a moment to observe the scene. For the clones to use their momentum to increase their speed. The clones attack in a seemingly random pattern, but in fact, they look for the place that would be the hardest to defend. They start in the normal the frontal assault, then, on the return, they use the downward the back assault. Though I am not proficient at it yet, that is the main point of it. Finally, the clones reached a speed which they couldn't see and made a mistake. One clone went too fast and crashed into another clone. This caused the other clones to lose concentration and crash into each other. Naruto hung his head. Well, that was a little embarrassing. Mifune once again stood in the middle of the poles. Very impressive, Naruto. Even I was hard-pressed to defend against that. I don't think I would have lasted much longer there. Naruto sighed. Ah well, good thing I still got more clones. Mifune widened his eyes. He had totally forgotten the other clones. He settled in a stance similar but yet still different to his one " I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Naruto. Flash. With that, he coated his sword in chakra and swung it in an arc all around him, dispelling the poles and most of the clones. I've seen enough of how well your clones can attack, but how about one-on-one? Naruto nodded, dispelling the rest of his clones. Alright, Kenjutsu then. The two got together in the center of the arena and once again circled each other. Naruto went for the same opening as his clone did before. He went for a strike for the chest. As before, Mifune twisted out the way and attempted to put his sword by Naruto's neck, only for it to be deflected. Naruto feinted left and slashed right. But that wouldn't work on an experienced swordsman such as Mifune, who saw right through it and blocked it. Naruto saw this as an opportunity to disarm him. He used his blade to hit the base of Mifune's and twisted. Then time seemed to slow down as the samurai leader's sword fell out of his hand and stabbed into the dirt. Though before he had a chance to hold the blade to Mifune's neck, a sign of a win, Mifune bent back and grabbed his sword, then swinging it up, he knocked Naruto's sword away. Before holding his own sword to Naruto's neck. Good move, Naruto, but not good enough to beat me. Naruto sighed once again. Yeah, and here I was thinking I had you with that last move. Winner, Lord Mifune. The ref announced before handing the microphone to Mifune while the crowd cheered. My people, you have all witnessed the skill of my student. Is there any who denies his right to be recognized as a samurai in all but allegiance? The crowd roared in approval. Well, there's their answer, Naruto. Congratulations. Naruto just stared in shock before giving a genuine megawatt smile. Thank you, Mifune-sensei, he bowed. My pleasure, Naruto, Mifune said as he bowed back. That wraps up today's battle. Thank you, my people. Have a good day. As the people slowly made their way to the exits, Mifune turned to Naruto. Meet me in my office as soon as possible. When Naruto reached Mifune's office, he found Zabuza and Haku waiting for him. They both turned to him when he entered. Good work, Naruto. I see you had mastered the Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. I trained a lot. Anyways, Zabuza said that he has contacted his friend in Mist and that you will be leaving by tomorrow. But because Mist is a little more chaotic as of late, we will wait a few years before it either dies down, or heats up to the point of where we have to offer our services. Either way, in the next 3 years, I will be training you and we will be going around as mercenaries. Naruto nodded. Is that all? No, I have one more thing to talk to you about, Naruto. Zabuza and Haku, you two can go rest in your hotel. I'll be quick with him. The two nodded and headed out, leaving Naruto and Mifune alone. Mifune stood up and went behind the bookshelf to get something that was hidden from Naruto's sight. This is a katana passed down from samurai leader to samurai leader. Legend has it that it was given to the samurais as a gift by the sage of the 6 paths himself. Many say that when giving it to us, he foretold that one day, a child of prophecy would come, and this katana would help him save or destroy the world. I believe that child is you, Naruto. Naruto looked at the sheath of the sword. It was a brilliant golden color that seemed to glow. It had beautifully crafted decorative dragons that seemed to move on its own accord as they wrapped around the sheath. Naruto looked up at the handle. It was just as golden and vibrant as the sheath, and though it had dragons as well, these had finer details and seemed to be made to be used as a grip. Finally he looked at Mifune, but sensei, How do you know it's me who is the child of prophecy? And even if it was, how do you know I won't destroy the world? I don't, but it is a sensei's duty to believe in his students. After some hesitation, Naruto grabbed the sword. He unsheathed it and took a moment to marvel at its beauty. Not a single piece of rust was seen on the reflective surface of the sword. He set the sheath down and made a small cut on his palm. Clenching it and looking into Mifune's eyes, he spoke with conviction, "I will make you proud, sensei. This I swear." Mifune looked in the determined eyes of Naruto. "You already have," he thought. The next day, the group was ready to head out. Everybody was saying their last goodbyes. "Thank you for helping me, Hiro-san, and please thank everybody else for me too," Naruto said as he shook the hand of one of the samurai who trained him. Hiro was the name of the highest-ranking samurai in the group that educated him in books. Thanks to him, Naruto knew his human anatomy well enough on where a hit would do what kind of damage and how severe the damage would be. "Naruto, it's been a pleasure teaching such a young and motivated student. May we meet another day." He shook Naruto's hand. Finally, after many goodbyes, it was Mifune's turn. "I am happy to be your teacher, Naruto, and just so you know, if you need anything, the samurai would be glad to help." Mifune looked over his shoulder. "Am I right?" The crowd roared in approval and Mifune extended his hand. "Well, I'm expecting to hear great things about you. Goodbye, Naruto." Naruto looked at Mifune's hand for a second before pushing it away and hugged him. "I'll miss you, sensei," he said as his eyes watered. Mifune's eyes softened. "I'll miss you too, but now it's time for you to go." Naruto wiped his tears away. "Goodbye, sensei." And with a tearful last look, Naruto left the land of iron, heading to destinations unknown to him. 3 days later, Zabuza had finally had enough. "Naruto, if you don't stop mopping around, I am going to stuff my socks in your mouth and put you in a genjutsu that doesn't allow you to smell or taste anything but those socks for the next week." The threatened, raising his killing intent for added effect. Naruto snapped his head up in fear. He did not want to taste nothing but dirty socks for a week. In his fearful state, Naruto never realized that Zabuza didn't wear socks. Satisfied that Naruto wasn't going to mop around anytime soon, Zabuza decided to tell them his plan. "Now, as you both know, Mist is in too much chaos right now. So for the next 3 years, I am going to train you both. In between the training sessions, we will be hired as mercenaries and hunting other missing ninja. Any questions?" Seeing them both shake their heads, he turned around and started to walk again. "In about 5 miles we will be coming across a town. You two find a place to stay while I see if there are any jobs available. Got it?" The two nodded. "Good." Arriving at the town, Zabuza gave them a quick breakdown on where to go, where not to go, and where to avoid at all costs. "Trust me, some of these places contain ninja that wouldn't hesitate to kill you for merely stepping wrong in their presence or even just to pass off time," he had said. And so, as planned, the two found a hotel that wasn't too bad and overly costly. Rogue ninja had to watch how much they spend after all. Else they might run out of money for food. Granted, they could always steal, but it's easier not to. Less hassle that way. "I'm telling you, the ninja won't be as scary as Zabuza said." Naruto tried arguing for the millionth time. "And I'm telling you that it's better to be safe than sorry. Besides, what if Zabuza found out? What then?" Haku argued back. "What if Zabuza finds out what?" A voice came behind him, causing him to nearly jump out his skin. "Zabuza, we were just air." Haku trailed off, noticing Naruto laughing and rolling on the floor. "Ha ha ha, you should have seen your face." Naruto laughed. Haku was confused. Was he missing something? He looked back at Zabuza just in time to see him be enveloped in a cloud of smoke, revealing another Naruto laughing. Haku was furious. Naruto had tricked him. "I'm going to kill you, Naruto," he screamed as he made a handful of ice senbon. But before he was able to throw it, he was caught by a hand. "Now, if you wanted to destroy stuff, you can go outside in the forest where I won't have to pay for collateral damage," Zabuza said. Haku rolled his eyes. "Naruto cut the transformation already. The same trick won't work on me twice," he said before stopping and looking at Naruto, who wasn't laughing like he expected. "It's the real Zabuza this time, isn't it?" Naruto nodded. Haku sighed. "Sorry, Zabuza. Naruto's being a pain and was playing pranks on me. I thought you were another one of them." Zabuza let go of Haku's hand. "Yes, I saw that one. Good job on making a transformed shadow clone undetected, Naruto. If you were an enemy assassin you would have been able to kill Haku. Zabuza praised. This brings me on to my next order of business. Since we arrived too late, there are no missions for this week. So I want to train both of you twice as hard for when we won't have time to train. As for what I'm going to teach you, I want both of you to learn my silent killer technique. That was a shock to them both. Being taught silent killing from one of the best? Awesome. Follow me to the forest and I will show you how it's done before you attempt it yourself. Now, there are many ways to do this technique. For example, if you were in a forest like now, you can use the natural camouflage given by the trees. But personally my favorite is using the mist. As he said this, he created the hand signs for the hidden mist jutsu. And by the time he finished, the mist had already seeped in. The mist is perfect camouflage in areas that have a high chance of being foggy. The victims would think it was just a normal fog. It also gives off an eerie atmosphere that would install fear in the opponent, making their reaction time slower. Zabuza then appeared behind them. And that is when you will strike. Ah, they both screamed. Now your turn, he smirked. It's been 1.5 years. Naruto and Haku have both grown in leaps and bounds. Haku through his natural-born genius and Naruto through his shadow clones. They had both expanded their jutsu repertoire. Both knew the substitution and were quite proficient in the silent killing. Not nearly Zabuza's level, but still enough to defeat most Chunin-level ninja. In fact, in an attempt to hone their skills, they made it a game to attempt to assassinate each other. In other words, when one let his guard down for even a second, the other would try to put him in a position where he would easily be killed without getting caught. The group had just come back from a mission. To be more exact, Naruto and Haku's first ranked mission by themselves. Zabuza only stood by. Though there were some cases that he almost had to intervene, everything turned out right in the end. On their way back to the town the kids have affectionately dubbed as their hideout, Naruto heard a rustling in the bushes. Thinking it was either an enemy or one of Haku's attempts but not caring either way, Naruto threw a kunai at it. Seeing the bush no longer moving, Naruto looked to see if it was part of Haku's plan, though when he looked, Haku seemed just as on edge as Naruto was. Naruto slowly walked towards the bush, holding a kunai in case it was an enemy. Then in a quick movement, he moved the bush away and held his kunai to a rabbit. He put his kunai away and brought the rabbit out. False alarm, just a rabbit, he said sheepishly. Zabuza snorted. All this training and what is it used for? To scare a bunny to death. Naruto looked back at his hands only to find that the bunny was gone. Looking around he found that the bunny was being held and petted by Haku. It's okay little bunny, don't be afraid. Ah, you so cute. Haku said while petting him. Naruto and Zabuza gave him deadpan looks. You sure you're not secretly a girl, Haku? Naruto asked once again. Without letting go of the rabbit, Haku formed 7 ice spikes all pointing to Naruto. What did you say, Naruto? I couldn't quite hear it. He asked with a warning tone in his voice. Nothing, Haku. Naruto waved his hands around. Good. Haku was instantly bright and shiny again. Let's go. I want to be back before nightfall. Came the gruff voice of Zabuza. When he turned around he saw Haku looking at him with puppy eyes. Can we keep him, please? Zabuza looked at him. No. Please can Zabuza let Haku keep this cute bunny Haku wants? Haku pleaded again and increasing his puppy dog eyes, leaking some fake tears for added effect. Naruto had to stuff his fist in his mouth to keep from laughing at that. A few months ago, Haku was watching something or another on TV when he came across a show that had a characters talking in third person. When Zabuza came back that night, Haku tried it on him and it freaked him out to no end. He never did say why though. Since that day, Haku decided that this would be perfect blackmail material. Zabuza looked at Haku for another full 5 seconds before caving in. Fine, but I'm not taking care of it and will I not tolerate it slowing down your training or hinder your missions. Am I clear? Yes, Zabuza. Haku cheered. A few miles later, Haku was still talking to his bunny. Suddenly Naruto heard a scream in the woods. Without thinking, he turned and was about to rush off into the woods. But Zabuza grabbed his collar. No, Naruto. Screams like that happen all the time. We are ninja, remember? Naruto looked at Zabuza. No, this is different, I have a feeling. Naruto then heard the 9 tails talking to him. Good feeling you got there, Naruto. If I'm not mistaken, then that's the scream of the Seven Tails host. It's in the same direction. Seeing Naruto come back to the waking world, Zabuza asked him the question. What did the fox say? Naruto looked up at Zabuza. He said that the scream most likely came from the Jinchuriki of the Seven Tails. As a fellow Jinchuriki, I had to help them. Zabuza sighed. Fine, but if it's more trouble than it's worth, we're leaving. Naruto reluctantly agreed and they dashed off in the direction of the scream. When they arrived, the three ninjas saw two male shinobi and a female kunoichi. The two male ones looked about 14 with brown eyes and brown hair in a spiky form, possibly twins. The girl had green hair and orange eyes and looked about 10. She had multiple bruises and cuts that still looked fresh. She also looked as if she almost had her clothes ripped off. Her shirt was ripped and her skirt was also showing multiple tears. Demon, you are going to die today, but first, we going to have some fun with you. One of them sneered while the other had a sick grin on his face. Haku looked on in shock while Naruto was seeing red. His eyes turned red with a slit in the middle. He grabbed his sword and dashed towards the first boy. One slash, he shouted, drawing his sword, cutting the boy in half and sheathing it in one fluid movement. Shocking the other boy. While Naruto's back was turned, the other boy snapped out of his shock and grabbed his kunai before charging at him, aiming to stick it in his skull. Only to be decapitated by Zabuza. Naruto turned around to see Zabuza's sword where the boy's head was and Haku lending the girl one of his spare kimono. The girl looked at them in fear, but when she saw Naruto's red eyes, she zoned out for a second before whispering with wide eyes, "You're just like me." Naruto was taken back. "What? You're just like me?" The mint-haired girl repeated. "How? I mean," Naruto stuttered in surprise and confusion. The girl lifted her hand up to her chest. "I have a tailed beast too. The 7 tails. He told me about your 9 tails." To the side Zabuza frowned. If the tailed beasts can sense each other, then it would be quite hard to keep Naruto's secret if another Jinchuriki is near. Seeing the sun start to set, the girl started to panic. "Please take me with you. Don't leave me alone." Naruto frowned. Looks like she has a fear of the dark, he thought. "I'll try asking Zabuza, he calls all the shots here," he told her before turning to Zabuza. "Can we keep her?" Naruto pleaded. "What's this? Adoption day?" Zabuza retorted with a tick mark on his head. "But you let Haku keep his bunny." Naruto pouted. Did Naruto really just compare this girl to a bunny? Haku deadpanned. Seems that Naruto would never cease to surprise him. "Shinobi-san, please take me with you. I promise I won't get in your way," the girl said. Zabuza looked at her, scanning her for any traits that would tell him where she belonged before finally stopping at the band that rested on her arm. "Why don't you go back to Waterfall?" he asked. She flinched before answering, "I can't. If I go back and they see that my teammates aren't with me, they will lock me up or kill me without question." "Ah, come on, Zabuza-sensei. You can't really leave her like this, can you? Just look at her," Naruto said in full puppy do eyes mode. Zabuza's eye twitched before looking at the girl who was also in the same state. "What is your name, girl?" he finally asked. "They call me Fu, or the demon," she answered. Zabuza sighed. "I'm blaming this on you, Yagura, you Takata." "Fine, but," he turned to Naruto and Haku. "This is the last time, understood?" Both nodded while Fu was beaming with joy. He turned to Fu again. "Now, since you are a ninja, I'm assuming you at least know how to use your chakra to an acceptable extent?" he questioned. "Yes, though not many know it. Shibuki, the son of the village leader, teaches me in secret. A few days ago he said that I was around the level of an average genin. That's what made me decide to take this mission. Well, that and the fact that the council leaders apparently saw me growing stronger and took this as an opportunity to kill me." Fu muttered the last part angrily. Zabuza heard but ignored the last part. "Good, because I don't want to have picked up deadweight." He then turned to Haku and Naruto. "Since we have so many interruptions today, we are behind schedule. I wanted us to be back in town before nightfall, but that is nearly impossible now. Not at the pace we were traveling at. So from here to the hotel, I want us to go full on ninja speed. Got it?" Seeing everyone, including Fu, nod, he turned around. "We travel in single file. Me first, then Haku, Fu and Naruto. Fu, since I am not sure about your speed yet, I am placing you in the middle. If you are unable to continue, then Naruto would carry you. He is the second physically strongest after me and I can't carry you because I might still need to fight and react quickly if we come across a hunter nin or any other similar threat. Fu nodded, surprised at his quick breakdown of the situation and picking the best formation in the short amount of time. Pretty much every Jinchuriki was naturally physically strong compared to the average ninja, and if they did come across enemy ninja they would go for Zabuza first, seeing as he is the biggest threat here. If any of you two lag behind, then you will be doing my special exercises tomorrow. Fu, I can understand for now, but you two shouldn't have a reason. Seeing the frightened look on their faces, she deduced that whatever Zabuza's special exercises were, she did not want to find out through experience. Let's go, he barked. And just like that, the clearing was calm again. The only sign that there was anyone there was the two dead bodies and drying blood. The next day, the group arrived at a clearing that has clearly seen better days. There were marks ranging from small holes that belonged to senbon to slashes that littered the tree trunks. Fu even spotted some trees that had slashes so deep that the tree seemed to be about to fall over, while others had already fallen and had been chopped up even more. What happened here? Fu asked, shocked at the destruction. Welcome to our humble training ground, Naruto introduced sarcastically. We train in pretty much all our skills here. From our precision, Naruto pointed to where the small holes were, to our strength, he pointed to the fallen trees that upon closer inspection had ropes tied around them, to our personal specialties. Here he pointed to where the trees had slashes all around them. And every week or so we spar in a clearing not far from here. That is where Zabuza gauges our process and what we need more training in. If we don't live up to his expectations, we do a set of his special exercises. If we don't live up to it more than once in a row, he doubles or triples it in accordance to the amount of times we didn't. Haku continued. Zabuza then walked into the clearing. Glad to see you getting Fu settled in. Haku, I want you to fight Fu. I need to see what she is capable of before I can train her. Fight her easy, then slowly increase the difficulty. Fu, I want you to go all out, no holding back. But no killing techniques allowed. Haku sighed as he led her to the place where he and Naruto sparred. Another thing you should know about Zabuza. He is very blunt. He doesn't beat around the bush and waste time and expects you to follow instructions to the best of your ability without wasting any time. As soon as they arrived at the clearing, they both got in battle-ready stances. Begin. Haku stood there, waiting for Fu to make the first move. The last few years of training beat that into his head. Never charge head first into a fight with an enemy with unknown strength. Seeing Haku wasn't going to do anything soon, Fu decided to make the first move. Hidden Jutsu. Scale powder technique, she said as she spat out some sparkling powder from her mouth. Not expecting it, Haku was unable to defend himself against it and was temporarily blinded from the scales reflecting the sunlight into his eyes. Seeing her chance, Fu took a running start and landed a flying kick on Haku, sending him flying for a few feet. But to her surprise, he just stood up like it was nothing. Good one, I didn't expect that, but now I know of it, it won't work on me twice. Haku grinned at her. Fu grinned back before making more hand signs. We'll see. Water cutting sword, just you. She called and formed two swords made from water in her hands. Oh come on, am I the only one who doesn't use swords? Haku complained before ducking to prevent losing his head. Since he was already on the ground, he spun on his heel with a leg out in an attempt to trip the dual-wielding kunoichi. Easily seeing it, Fu jumped up and brought her swords down in an attempt to do a jumping slash. She would have succeeded if not for the ice dome Haku formed. Her blades weren't sharp enough to completely cut through the dome and only managed to slightly damage it. She frowned a little before giving a slight smirk. Haku looked through his ice dome and narrowed his eyes, seeing her smirk. Suddenly he was aware of something burning next to him. His eyes widened. An explosive tag, he thought in alarm. Boom, Fu whispered as she jumped away. The ice dome shattered in all directions. Fu let her arm fall from where she used it to shield her eyes. The dust cleared to reveal nothing. Fu's eyes widened before looking around. Above? To my left? Right? Behind? Or below? Haku's voice cried. Fu looked down just in time to receive an uppercut, snapping her head back and knocking her off her feet. Nice move, you almost got me with that one. I didn't even see you place it. He praised. The Fu he was looking at smiled. Then you gonna love this one, she said before turning to water. Haku only had time to widen his eyes before he heard Fu. Hidden Jutsu. Hiding in scale powder jutsu. Haku smirked, covering his eyes and jumping away. I told you, that wouldn't work again. Haku was suddenly very glad he jumped away because as soon as he got away, he opened his eyes just to see a huge explosion where he was a moment before. Haku landed on a tree branch and Fu not far from him. Not what you expected, was it? She smirked at his shocked expression. That shocked expression then turned into a smirk as he created a ball of ice. So you like playing with explosives, huh? Fu tensed. Well then, how would you like to see my personal creation? Ice grenade, he shouted before throwing the ball of ice. Fu's eyes widened as she jumped in the air. They widened even more when she saw that the ball exploded into ice spikes. Finally, when she thought her eyes wouldn't widen anymore, she looked at Haku, who was holding 2 more ice grenades. Thinking fast, she made hand seals for the only technique that could save her. Net-shaped prison, she called before spitting a green web and successfully trapping Haku in its sticky confines. Now you can't throw them and you can't detonate them without hurting yourself. She smirked. Haku sighed as he let the ice grenade dissolve. Coming of winter, he whispered before releasing ice chakra from his body. Fu suddenly felt the temperature drop as she saw her web starting to freeze before shattering. I admit, you almost got me again, but now it's all over, Haku said in a low tone while making hand seals. Demonic mirroring ice crystals. Fu looked around as blocks of ice started to form all around her. She tried to break it with an explosive tag, but it didn't even scratch the surface of the mirrors. She tried to make hand signs for her hiding in the scales technique, but a quick senbon to her hand stopped her short. Fu started panicking. She made 6 water clones, each heading to a different gap in the mirrors. But before they could even get close, they all turned back to water. In these mirrors, I am much faster than before. Faster than the human eye can track. Haku's voice echoed around all the mirrors. She felt a cold metal on her neck as she turned to see the masked face of Haku. Game over, Fu heard next to her. She sighed as the ice mirrors turned back to water. It is, Haku heard behind him as he saw another Fu hold a kunai to his neck. The Fu he had turning to water. Now it was Haku's turn to sigh as they both relaxed and put their weapons away. They heard clapping. Good work, both of you. Fu, since you have proven you can keep up with Haku, then you will train with them, though you will focus a little more on chakra control and finesse than brute strength. Haku, you still made a few amateur mistakes such as not checking when you rushed in for the finish. You will do double the training next practice, but because you did this well, I won't put you on my special program. Fu beamed while Haku sighed with relief. Also, since Fu is a known kunoichi of Waterfall, we can no longer just leave you without ranks. In a week's time, you 3 will battle me to see if you can truly become ninja in my eyes. 1 week for you to get accustomed to each other's fighting styles. No training until then. Relax, train, chat, whatever. Just don't damage anything in town or get in trouble. Yes, Zabuza. All 3 said at once. On the first day, Naruto showed Fu and Haku the shadow clone jutsu and explained how it would help them train. Though it took both a few tries, something that made Naruto grumble about unfairness, neither of them could spam them like Naruto. Fu managed 100 before having to stop and Haku only 5. The 3 theorized that it was due to its massive chakra cost and how Naruto naturally had chakra in buckets and the 9 tails as a backup as the reason why there he is barely affected. Naruto then quickly pointed out that Fu also shouldn't be affected since she has the 7 tails. Having no other explanations, the 3 decided that maybe it was something they would discover with time and left it and tried to focus on how they would train with maximum efficiency. Unsurprisingly, Haku, not being a powerhouse like Naruto and Fu, relied more on strategy and thus is slightly smarter, suggested that they all write down their jutsu, excluding clones and other basic jutsu. Then they could break down the technique's strengths, range, weaknesses and other information. They took some paper and wrote down what they remembered. Once done, they all looked at the papers. Haku, Ice Dome. Type: Ice, defensive. Strength: strong defense, unable to see inside. Weakness: unable to see outside. Range: short. Ice spikes. Type: Ice, offensive. Strength: little warning. Weakness: requires ice surface. Range: any. Ice grenade. Type: Ice, offensive. Strength: can be concealed and made quickly. Weakness. Easy to dodge. Range. Close mid. 1,000 ice needles of death. Type. Water, ice offensive. Strength. Jutsu can be done with one hand. Weakness. Easy to escape. Range. Close to mid. Demonic crystal ice mirrors. Type. Ice, offensive, support. Strength. Speed increase, camouflage, can use to escape quickly. Weakness. High chakra cost. Range. Mid. Coming of winter. Type. Ice, support. Strength. Easier to use other ice techniques. Weakness. Extremely high chakra cost, gets weaker with range. Range. Short mid. Naruto. Water wall. Type. Water, defensive. Strength. Can block most lower rank just you, conceals Naruto, water can be reused for other techniques. Weakness. Naruto can't see outside. Range. Short, glimmering water chains. Type. Water, support, offensive. Strength. Can be formed quickly, low chakra cost, large amount can be formed. Weakness. Needs water source. Range. Any, provided water source nearby. Fu. Hidden jutsu. Scale powder. Type. Support. Strength. Can blind opponent. Weakness. Easy to blow away. Range. Mid. Hidden jutsu. Hiding in scale powder. Type. Offensive. Strength. Can blind and explode. Weakness. Easy to blow away. Range. Mid. Water cutting jutsu. Type. Water, offensive. Strength. Low chakra cost. Weakness. Lightning. Range. Short, net-shaped prison. Type. Support. Strength. Traps opponent in sticky web. Restricts movement. Weakness. Speed. Range. Mid. The trio looked at each other before Naruto and Fu looked at Haku. Now what? Naruto asked. Haku looked over each of the ninjutsu again before he had an idea. He looked at the Jinchuriki and explained his idea. None of us are anywhere near strong enough to defeat Zabuza alone, correct? The two nodded. And each of these techniques have their own weaknesses, correct? Again they nodded. Get to the point, Haku. Naruto impatiently said. Well, what if we all cover each other's weaknesses and enhance their strengths? He said as Naruto slowly understood what he meant. So like your ice grenade can be made quickly but is easy to dodge, so if Fu was to use her net-shaped prison to trap Zabuza, you can hit him with a higher chance of success, right? Haku nodded. That is the point, yes. Alright, what are we waiting for? I'll just create a bunch of clones and we can use any jutsu we can think of in conjunction with each other and see what works best. Haku then remembered something Zabuza explained back when it was only the two of them. Flashback. Today I will teach you about nature types. This will hopefully help you with your ice style and will give you an idea of each nature's strengths and weaknesses. Of course, most ninja below Jonin wouldn't have much more than a few jutsus and prefer to use neutral chakra, but just in case you do meta Jonin. First there are basic elements. These are fire, wind, water, lightning and earth. Fire is strong against wind but weak against water. Wind is strong against lightning and weak against fire. Lightning is strong against earth and weak against wind. Earth is strong against water and weak against lightning. Finally, water is strong against fire and weak against earth. Some ninjas can mix two of them together to form sub-elements like your ice style, which is a mix between wind and water. Usually this is accomplished by lots of training and mastering both elements. However, some shinobi have bloodlines that allows them to naturally mix them. Two elements is usually the maximum anyone will achieve, but people like the second and third Tsuchikage have a bloodline that allows them to mix fire, earth and wind and creating the dust style. Keeping up so far? Zabuza asked. Haku nodded. So the two elements are mixed internally? Zabuza nodded. Usually yes, however they can also be mixed externally when two ninja use their jutsu in conjunction with each other. This is called collaboration and is very deadly. For example, if two ninja were to combine wind and fire against water of the same rank, the collaboration would usually win as it is stronger. Flashback end. What about collaborations? He suddenly asked. What? Naruto asked back confused. Haku explained what they are and how it would increase the jutsu's powers. That's great and all, but we don't exactly have any jutsu that are compatible with each other. Most of our jutsu are water, ice or neutral. Fu pointed out. Haku faltered, "Guess you're right, I forgot about that." Haku felt a hand on his shoulder. "It's not a bad idea, it's just that we don't have the jutsus yet." Naruto smiled. "Right, Naruto, make those clones and let's get cracking," commanded. "Yes sir." Shadow clone jutsu. Instantly the whole clearing was filled with smoke before an army of Narutos appeared. Naruto made an extra few to stand on the sidelines to observe which was best. "Alright clones. Today we will be practicing defense and evasion. Evade and defend against everything thrown at you." Naruto shouted at his clones. "Haku, Fu, let's fire away." Naruto shouted as he charged into the crowd, slicing away with his sword and jumping around while occasionally firing off a water chain to impale or throw the clones. Haku and Fu looked at each other before shrugging and charging after him. Landing in the middle of the crowd, Haku gave a strong punch to the face of the nearest clone. "This is oddly satisfying," he said with a grin. "I know what you mean." Fu laughed as she backflipped. "Hey, no hitting below the belt," a clone cried while protecting his family jewels before dispelling due to a kunai to the head. If anyone were to watch the trio train, they would wonder about their sanity. Some hours later, around midday, finally all the clones had been destroyed and the trio was all lying on the ground panting. "That was fun, but now I'm all out of chakra," Haku grinned. "Same here," Fu agreed. "Let's get some food and replenish our chakra before we start Taijutsu Royal Rumble, so we can get used to each other's style," Naruto suggested. "Good idea. What about money?" Fu asked. Just then a couple of clones appeared from behind trees holding bags that made clanking sounds. "Got that covered, made a couple before I came here and another few to reinforce them just as we started," Naruto explained. "Is it safe to come out yet?" one of the clones asked. "No more scary boom booms?" another whimpered. Fu couldn't help but laugh. "You're a wimp, Naruto." "Shut up clone. You making me look bad," Naruto muttered with a small blush. "Does he realize he just told himself to shut up?" Haku whispered to Fu. The week passed quickly, too quickly. The three kids practiced as much as they possibly could, yet they still didn't think they stood a chance in defeating Zabuza in battle. Even if there was two Jinchuriki and an ice user. The three got to know each other pretty well. Fu told them about her history and in turn Haku and Naruto told her theirs. Fu was surprised that there were others that were treated just as, if not worse than her for something out of their control. She almost lost control and started leaking some of the Seven Tails chakra when Naruto told her that he was being experimented on since he could remember. In the end she managed to calm down and they all felt a connection. All of them had a bad past, yet all of them still managed to push through. Through the use of clones, they knew each other well enough that they could pretty much tell what the other was planning and how to enhance it half the time. Of course, Fu and Naruto worked best since they created the most clones. Though Haku was getting better, the constant use bringing his amount up to 10. Finally, the day of the test is here. The trio went back at the clearing used for battle where Zabuza was waiting. Haku, Naruto, Fu. Zabuza greeted. "Zabuza," they greeted back. "I trust you are ready?" Zabuza asked. The trio shook their heads. "We won't be ready for a top jonin like you. Not for a few years at least," Haku stated. "But we have prepared the best we can in the time you have given us." Fu continued. "Good, you have passed the first part. A shinobi must not be lazy and should be humble. There is a fine line between confidence and arrogant." Zabuza nodded. "But a shinobi's worth is shown through actions. Come at me with full force," he shouted as he grabbed the handle on his sword. The three young preteens all dropped in a ready stance. Haku held 3 senbon needles in each hand while Fu made her water swords and Naruto simply placed his hand on his. Each looked at the other in the corner of their eyes before Haku and Fu's eyes stopped on Naruto. Giving a slight nod, Naruto dug his back foot slightly in the ground before taking off at mid-chunin speed and unsheathing his blade. "One slash," he shouted mid-swing, only to be forced to stop in the face of Zabuza's executioner blade. "Ow!" he cried as he hit his head on the large blade. "Not cool, Zabuza. That hurt." "Good, maybe that will knock you out of your childish tendencies. You are to be fighting as if you're facing an opponent that can kill you. Acting like a child will get you killed. Time to be serious and act the ninja you are trying to be." Zabuza reprimanded seriously. Haku and Fu were shocked. This wasn't the same kind person who took them. No, this was the Jonin and one of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the Hidden Mist. Haku recovered first, his face hardening slightly as he unclipped his mask and placed it on his face. Naruto looked up, his face turning from that of a child to that of a man who has faced many battles. It was this that reminded the other two preteens that he had also fought many battles. It was this that reminded them that he had been an experiment under the snake Sannin. No child should have that face, Zabuza internally frowned. I understand, was all Naruto said before he dispersed into smoke, temporarily removing Zabuza's vision. Now, Naruto shouted from the trees. Haku snapped out of his surprise at the clone and started throwing senbon after senbon into the smoke. You would do well to remember that I am the master of the silent killing. Removing my sight will not hinder me in the slightest, Zabuza said as many clanks were heard as the senbon impacted against his massive blade. The smoke cleared to reveal senbon lying all around Zabuza, who was standing there without a single mark on him. If seeing dark does nothing to you, how about flashing colors? Hidden jutsu. Scale powder. Fu shouted while releasing some powder that caught the light from the sun and reflected it in Zabuza's eyes, again blinding him. Ice style. Coming of winter, Haku muttered as frost started creeping towards Zabuza. Zabuza prepared to jump away from the blinding powder but was unable to as he slipped from the frost that had solidified into a thin layer of ice. The Jonin couldn't contain his surprise and opened his eyes wide. The powder reflected a large amount of light into his eyes and stunning him again. His brain focused on the damage to his eyes and he barely registered his other senses. Seeing Zabuza stunned, Haku continued pressing. Ice style. Ice spikes, he said as he caused the existing ice below Zabuza to shoot up and impaling him. Did we get him? Fu asked, letting her guard down slightly. No, it won't be that easy, Naruto said as he tensed even more. True to Naruto's words, the Zabuza Haku impaled turned into water. Hidden mist jutsu. Zabuza's voice called from around them. Haku and Naruto tensed before relaxing and focusing their senses while Fu looked around, not sure what to do. Realizing that Fu hadn't been trained in the silent killing, Naruto created a clone with double the usual chakra. Protect her, he commanded. The clone nodded and ran off to follow his orders. The training ground was silent for another moment before a leaf rustled. There, both Naruto and Haku thought at the same time. Water style. Glimmering water chains, Naruto shouted as he created chains from Haku's melted jutsus and sending them towards where he heard the sound. Water style. 1,000 needles of death. Haku followed by sending a hail of water needles. Both were then hit from behind by clones of Zabuza. Don't announce your position to your enemy if you don't have to, they said at the same time. Haku groaned, we may be decent with the silent killing, but Zabuza's on a whole different level. Yeah, this mist has got to go, Naruto agreed. Time to step it up, now it's a ninjutsu battle. Zabuza called. Water style, water dragon jutsu. His voice echoing and stopping them from pinpointing where the dragon would be coming from. Water style. Water wall. Naruto called as he put more chakra than usual to withstand the A-rank ninjutsu. Though he severely underestimated how much he put in, the water wall grew to double its usual size and its rotation spun twice as fast. Instead of impacting against the water wall, the water dragon was actually absorbed. Due to its rotation, it also started creating a vacuum that pulled all the mist into it and dispelling the jutsu. Totally called it. A water wall strong enough to create a suction that sucks in my mist. And at his age no less, Zabuza thought to himself. Naruto dropped his water wall and was dropped to his knees panting while Haku and Fu looked at him in amazement. That was so cool, Naruto. Fu shouted. I admit, that was a good idea, but now you are left with much less chakra than before. Even a chakra house like you won't be able to use that much chakra without severely draining yourself, Zabuza analyzed. Damn it, he's right, Naruto thought as he snaked a hand to his pouch. Grabbing a chakra pill, he swallowed it before standing up again. This won't last very long. We must finish this fight quickly. He said. Fu, distract him, I have an idea. Naruto called. Right, she shouted back as she launched herself towards Zabuza ready to engage in a kenjutsu battle. Usually fighting a larger and more experienced opponent in a kenjutsu battle would be a bad idea. But her small body allowed for more speed and she managed to dodge Zabuza's large swings and dance around him. Haku, can you carry people with you in your mirrors? Naruto whispered. Haku thought for a second before nodding. I can, though it will be much more chakra taxing to move them, and there is a chance they will get hypothermia. What if you created the mirrors and I move between them with my chains and clones? Naruto suggested. Haku's eyes widened as he caught on what Naruto was planning. That could work, but you must do it quickly. I will be able to keep the mirrors up at 30 seconds at most. Naruto nodded. Alright, you prepare that. I'll back up Fu for now, he said as he ran off to support his fellow Jinchuriki. He arrived just in time to stop Fu from getting a kick. Using Zabuza's distracted state, she weaved a few hand signs to try and bind him. Hidden jutsu. Net-shaped prison, she said as she spat out multiple green webs. Though she failed to fully trap him, she managed to get his sword stuck to the ground and covered one of his hands, preventing him from creating any more hand signs. The Jonin was forced to leave his sword when he saw Naruto and many of his clones charging at him with their swords drawn. He jumped back and landed in the middle of the clearing straight into Haku's trap. Ice style. Demonic mirroring ice crystals, Haku called from the trees. At once, the water left from Naruto's water wall rose up and created a dome made of mirrors. Naruto stepped in the one closest to him while his clones followed suit in the other mirrors, leaving the one on top for Haku to run distraction. Haku wasn't kidding when he said that there is a chance I would get hypothermia. This is cold. How does he stay here for so long? Naruto wondered as he shivered slightly. Water style. Glimmering water chains, Naruto muttered as a chain made of water came out of his sleeves and wrapping around his arm. Naruto and his clones then proceeded to dash out of the mirrors with their chains trailing behind them at random intervals. Each would dash out, cross Zabuza and disappear back into the closest empty mirror before he could react. Occasionally giving him a punch just to be sure he didn't escape, and whenever he tried to move, Haku threw some senbons to force him back. Soon enough, chains were all around Zabuza, leaving him no space to move. The clones and original all pulled on their respective chains and tightening the chains that wrapped around Zabuza before stepping out of the mirrors to allow Haku to dispel it. Fu came up to Zabuza and held her water swords crossed at Zabuza's throat, signifying the match to be over. Good work. You three showed decent teamwork for kids who only met around a week ago. Naruto, you created a clone to protect Fu, knowing that she is at much more of a disadvantage in my mist, and even created a strong enough water wall to suck up my mist. Very few ninja can accomplish such a feat. Fu, you kept my attention on you and brought enough time for Naruto and Haku to create a decent strategy to immobilize me, and your accuracy with that net-shaped prison was spot on. Though you didn't fully immobilize me, you still managed to take my kenjutsu, ninjutsu and partially taijutsu out of play. Haku, your ice jutsus are improving, sneaking your ice below me without me noticing until it was too late, and even allowing Naruto and his clones to use your ice mirrors to trap me. All three of you are worthy shinobi in my books, Zabuza praised, causing them to blush. And as of today, I am your sensei, and you are Team Zabuza. Zabuza announced proudly. Naruto dropped his chains in shock and Haku sighed happily before dropping from chakra exhaustion. A nearby clone caught him before he could hit the ground. You guys did well. Rest for now. I will talk to you again when Haku wakes up, Zabuza told them before leaving. Naruto and Fu sighed before sitting down themselves. Naruto noticed Fu looking a little down and asked what was wrong. Why do you look so down? We are now Team Zabuza. This is a happy occasion. It's just that you and Haku both did so much. I barely did anything at all. She sighed. Of course you did. You brought me and Haku time to plan and even took away his sword and the ability to wield hand signs. If you didn't, the fight would have been much harder to win, he encouraged. Yeah, but that's all I did. You took away the mist, had to protect me, and trapped Zabuza with Haku alone. I didn't do anything, she argued. That's because most of your jutsu are supports. We have more offensive jutsu that work against him. Naruto consoled her. And if you think that isn't enough, then all the more reason to train harder. Fu's eyes lightened a little. Yeah, I will train harder until I surpass both of you, she said with determination. That's the spirit. Naruto cheered. Though I think that will have to wait a while. I seem to be having trouble getting up, his sweat dropped. Fu laughed a little before creating 4 clones. 2 for each of you, she said. Oi, I'm not fat, Naruto protested. The clone closest to him poked him in the chest. I don't know, she said before turning around again to hide her blush from when she felt his muscles. Fu and her clones carried the downed boys through town and to the hotel. A peculiar sight for all who saw them.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.